0191 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Donegal County Council would like to advise householders who may be experiencing the loss of heat or power due to the effects of Storm Eowyn to take the following safety measures when considering alternative arrangements for the provision of heat or light. Where generators are used, ensure they are in a well-ventilated space outside, away from any door, window or vent opening into buildings. When using stoves or fireplaces which haven't been in use for a period of time, ensure chimneys have been checked and cleared of any blockages prior to use. Do not obstruct ventilation openings into rooms. Where gas hobs are in use for cooking, leave windows slightly ajar. Do not use portable gas heating appliances indoors. Ensure you have carbon monoxide detectors on each level in your home and in rooms where appliances are located. In the event of a carbon monoxide alarm activation, evacuate the building immediately, leaving doors open and call the emergency services. Remember, carbon monoxide is a colourless, odourless gas and is a silent killer. Take the necessary precautions and stay safe.
For an efficient, mild hybrid system that doesn't compromise on the joy of driving, test drive the Mazda CX-30. This compact, stylish SUV comes with fuel-saving Mazda M hybrid technology and a 6-year warranty. Test drive the 251 Mazda range at McGinley Motors, Letterkenny. Mazda, crafted in Japan.
Are you thinking of building, extending, improving or simply redecorating your home? Then don't miss the Donegal New Build and Rebuild 3-day event at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of February with free admission. Visitors can discover new ideas, inspiration and expert advice from top local exhibitors. Proudly sponsored by Efficient Renewables for all your renewable needs. Visit our brand new live working showroom on Main Street, Newton Cunningham for a full display of solar and heat pumps.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time now is just turned 9:25. Barry Downs is CEO of Affidia. He joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Barry. Thanks for your time.
Great, good morning. How are things?
I'm doing good. Right, now, a new minor injuries unit is opening up, and an illness unit, in fact, in Letterkenny. In fact, it has opened, hasn't it? It opened on Tuesday.
It opened on Tuesday, yes, correct.
So what is it?
So it's essentially, it's minor injuries and a minor illness unit, Greg, offers a viable alternative for patients that don't have to attend a busy emergency department for certain elements of care. The title says it all, minor injuries and illness. It's not suitable for road traffic accidents or chest pain or things like that. But, everyday, slips, trips, falls, lacerations, sporting injuries, foreign bodies, different things like that, offers a very quick service with in-house diagnostics for patients to attend. Come in, it's a walk-in service, get triaged by our nurses, seen by our doctors, if necessary have their x-ray, get a boot, get a stitch, and the vast majority of all our patients are in and out within 60 minutes.
And how do people know, do I go to this clinic? Do I go to the ED? Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously some people are referred to the ED by their GP, for an example. Will GPs be referring to this unit?
Yeah. It's about the appropriate signposting of patient care. I mean, for example, in Naas, where we have a local injury unit, we run that on behalf of Naas General Hospital. And it's very much about linking in with local GPs, out of hours, with the hospital. The HSC have been very proactive in promoting the local injury units, as you might have seen over the last 4 to 5 months. Again, trying to signpost patients to an injury unit as opposed to a very busy emergency department.
It's obviously Affidia, a private company. How does the cost side of things work?
It's a fee per service. We would have, for people with private health insurance, for example, they might be covered depending on their policy to a certain amount. In the Letterkenny unit, the one which we opened this week, Garda Medical Aid, prison officers have full cover. Some of the insurers like Irish Life Health, Level Health and VHI, patients can attend and reclaim, and patients without private health insurance can just pay at the desk.
Can you give us some idea of costs? Because you know yourself, Barry, that when people are going, right, where do I go? It's often to about how much resources they may even have in their bank account. So obviously, it depends very much on the level of treatment that's required. But is there sort of basic costs that we can put out to the public so that they'll know?
Yeah, so for someone walking in, I suppose to see the nurse, the doctor, and to have the initial treatment would be in the order of €150. If an X-ray was required, there'd be an additional fee on top of that. But when you look at the monetary amount, I think the other thing, Greg, you need to balance it against is the time spent. 60 minutes in a clinic like ours vis-a-vis 20 hours or 24 hours in a very busy emergency department.
And do you envisage or did you suggest the model is down the country that the HSE maybe could use some of your capacity to ease pressure for the type of injuries we're talking about? Is that happening? Could that happen?
It does happen, and we've had a very long and successful relationship with the HSE on a number of different aspects of healthcare delivery in Ireland. This is the fifth injury unit we've opened up. We've opened up our first one at Cork at the end of 2017. And in Cork, for example, I think it was in 2021, as part of the winter planning, the HSE provided funding to allow GPs and out-of-hour doctors to refer directly into our clinic in Cork for people that were suitable for a minor injury or a minor illness. So, diverting them away from a very busy emergency department. And that's worked very, very well, because what we have is rapid access to diagnostics. So a lot of people coming in, they need an X-ray. We can provide that X-ray on site, immediately look at the results and decide on the best course of care for that particular patient. We can book them for a follow-up appointment with a fracture clinic or for an MRI, depending on what the clinical indications are. And we've been doing that in Cork since 2021. More recently, actually a year ago today or yesterday, we opened up the local injury unit specifically for Naas General Hospital. So there's a hybrid model of care, Greg, that works quite well and very successfully to the betterment of patients.
But that's not currently an arrangement in place in Letterkenny?
Not yet, but we have we work very closely with Letterkenny Hospital for a number of years. Very good relationships there. The hospital have been very supportive of the unit, and we're in active discussions with them to see how we can best help them. What's
the relationship like with GPs in terms of, you referenced signposting and how people might find themselves at your minor injury and illness unit as opposed to the ED?
It's about education and awareness. We've been working very closely with GPs in Ireland since 2008. Each year we perform in the magnitude of 400,000 scans, advanced diagnostic imaging scans, and the vast majority of those referrals are coming from GPs. So GPs are very much aware of what we are, what we do, and how we work within that kind of health ecosystem. We're not there to replace general practitioners, far from it. We can provide a pressure relief valve. And again, for their patients coming in, they can say, you're better off going to a minor injury unit as going to a busy ED.
Is it effectively a GP's as well, though? And I don't mean in the title, I mean in terms of the services, i.e., some people, maybe the GP they can't get access to their GP, or they now doc may not be for them. Obviously, during opening hours, it's 10 to 6 p.m, so now doc necessarily not a factor here. But is this effectively a private GP's as well in terms of the level of care?
No, we wouldn't. We do find some patients trying to use the service because they cannot get into a GP. They might need a second script. But we would always be very keen to point out to all patients that their primary relationship is with their GP. The GP has their family history, their medical history, and in terms of longevity of care, that should rest with the general practitioner. That's a very, very important relationship within Irish healthcare.
This is a private enterprise, as I mentioned. So there's no medical card acceptance, I take it?
Not at the moment with the local injury unit, but as I said to you already, we have worked very closely with the HSE for many, many years. And in fact, since 2016 or 2015, we've been providing the HSE ultrasound service. Last year we had just under 20,000 patients attend our clinic in Letterkenny. 6,500 of them, Greg, were availing of free ultrasound service under the HSE scheme. So a large portion of what we do in terms of the overall volume of patients we see, quite a significant amount of them are public patients, and that's been derived through funding from the HSE under various programs of care.
But I'm on about just at the moment. This is a private minor injury and illness unit.
As of today in Letterkenny, that is correct.
So I either pay or through health insurance. Caller wants to know, is Layer Healthcare covered at the clinic?
Not currently. So I think the Leia Healthcare are currently sending their members across the border to Ballykelly. But Level Health, VHI, Irish Life and Garda Medical Aid are all covered within the clinic to some degree.
And that relationship with Leia Healthcare recently changed, didn't it? That's perhaps what triggered that question.
Leia Healthcare have been bought out by AXA. AXA would have and have become more of a provider as opposed to a pure payer. So, like everything within every sector, there's strategic partnerships that get brought about. I mean, we have had a very healthy relationship with Leia for many, many years, going back to the early 2000s. We're delighted to have welcome Leia members into our clinic at any point in time.
Yeah, and it just that kind of comes from another story we covered a couple of weeks ago, Barry, where people with Layer Healthcare for getting scans and stuff were being asked to either go into Derry or down to Dublin. So I presume that's what
that was with regards to direct settlement. Layer members can still attend that clinic, and they can pay at the point of care and reclaim. And the amount they can reclaim is dependent on their policy.
Yes, for sure. Do you need to make an appointment between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m.?
No, absolutely not. It's a fully walk-in service. We're staffed from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 5 days a week currently. Our ambition is in the coming weeks, right, to kind of expand those opening hours to mirror what we see in our other express care injury unit clinics, which would be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
In terms of people's medical notes, do you have access to that medical history? Do you know that sort of a thing? So maybe people might be a little bit concerned.
You're talking about the holy grail of an electronic healthcare record.
Yes.
Currently, no, but there are a lot of projects ongoing at the moment. Encompass, for example, in Northern Ireland, is being rolled out. The HSE have been very, very clear that their plan is to have a fully integrated EHR in the near future, which, I think there's very few countries in Europe which could boast that.
Okay, so just to clarify for a few people texting in then, so if they have private health insurance, can they avail of a Fidia in Letterkenny, and how does that work, or does it depend on their policy or who they are with?
So we're talking about two different things here potentially. If you're talking about the diagnostic imaging, there is direct settlement in place there for your MRI, which is becoming more and more common.
I'm kind of thinking, right, say I'm out playing football, I twist my knee, and I have private health insurance. Does that? Am I covered if a Fidia, or maybe my health insurance doesn't cover me like that?
It depends on your policy. At the moment, there's two things there, Greg. One is direct settlement, which is a member would pay nothing. Yeah. Everything is done behind the scenes. At the moment, because the injury unit has only opened this week and we're still in discussions with the various health insurers, members can turn up. They can pay at the point of care at reception desk, and then depending on what level of policy they have, will dictate what they can get in terms of either fully refunded or partially refunded.
Okay, and many people, like we've seen with other private health providers in Letterkenny, they will make a financial decision and they'll say, I was chatting to a lady yesterday, unfortunately 24 hours in the ED. Well, it wasn't her, it was her mother. Or, the timelines that you're talking about, that's decisions people can make for themselves.
To mirror that, we had a lady turn up on Tuesday with her son who had been in the local emergency department waiting, a large amount of time. Went onto Facebook, found our ad, rang her insurer and said, "Can I attend this clinic?" They said, "Absolutely you can." She came down to our clinic and they were in and out within 30 minutes.
All right, okay. Would you advise people, because you never know what might happen into the future? You talked of that lady ringing their insurer in that time. Do you think people, if they have private health insurance, should be clarifying at this point now, rather than maybe in the heat of a crisis?
I think the insurance companies are very, very good at communicating with their members.
Okay, I've never had private health insurance, so I'm a bit naive in that regard. My apologies.
Okay, it's. Ireland is a bit of an outlier in terms of about 49% of the population currently have private medical insurance. What we are seeing, and the good thing about being part of the Affidea group, as we look across our 16 different countries, we can see how private medical insurance is increasing across the European Union. So it's a personal decision. I mean, in the UK, the NHS is still very much the primary source of healthcare delivery.
Okay. Well, listen, Barry, it's been good to chat to you. Thank you very much. Best of success with it. It's another option for some people. We do appreciate your time. Barry Downs there. He's the CEO of Afadia. And that is open now. They're down at the Scally Place in Letterkenny, opened on Tuesday. It's a minor illness and injury clinic. It's initially running for 5 days per week from 10 a.m. To 6 p.m. and is promising to see and treat a wide range of minor injuries and ailments that until now patients have traditionally been required to attend a local emergency department for. And it sort of opens up the questions too about the access to healthcare. If you don't have money, or it's your choice, the ED, but if you have resources or you can get your resources together, there are private options there. Afadia is not the first in Letterkenny, but the first of its kind. But people are making those choices themselves. A caller says Donegal has had more ministers than any other West County. We had Dr. James McDade, Sport, Mary Coughlin, Taoiseach, Joe McHugh, Education, Charlotte McConnell, Agriculture. Then we had Pat the Cope Gallagher and Dinny McGinney. They were ministers of state. No other county in the west of Ireland has had as many ministers. Greg, it was predicted on RTE weather. Is this the black ice? Coming up the mountain top there is the direction I come up from Kilmacrennan today. I mean, the whole way up from Illister into the mountaintop is ice, effectively. Really, really very, very dangerous. The only saving grace is traffic is moving so slow. Another caller says traffic at the mountaintop is desperate. People heading into Letterkenny should leave enough time before heading out. But I don't know how much time you would leave. If you've just tuned in, I didn't get here till 9:15. 2 hours on the road this morning to cover a journey that normally from that direction takes less than half an hour. I mean, what time could you theoretically leave at? Because earlier on there were issues in Kilmacrennan where traffic was stuck. It's just the relationship between ice and entering an urban area I haven't quite figured out yet. I don't understand why icy conditions mean that an urban area such as Letterkenny becomes such a traffic car park. I don't understand it. But anyway, someone out there far cleverer than me, and there are many of you, might be able to educate me in relation to that. Philip says, councillor laying new footpaths around the town. I presume that must be Letterkenny, is it? But no underground heating like in Scandinavia. They have put underground heating under the footpaths in and around towns, so no one will be fear of falling on ice. I'm not sure we'd have the climate to justify that. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? But really, I can't imagine it ever happening here because the majority of the time it's not cold and icy. But anyway, that's not to in any way extinguish your point. It's just me being quite sceptical of it ever happening here.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Big news, Letterkenny. McCabe's Pharmacy is here, and we're officially Ireland's largest, most patient-focused pharmacy brand with over 110 stores nationwide. Whether you're picking up your prescriptions, stocking up on your winter vitamins, or treating yourself to much-needed self-care essentials, here at McCabe's Pharmacy, we have you covered. Call in to us on Pierce Road, Letterkenny. Download our brand new app or visit mccabespharmacy.com for more information. You're amazing. Let's keep you that way.
Transform your home with Hegarty's Home Interiors in Buncrana. Discover a wide selection of stylish furniture and decor to create your perfect space. Our expert team offers personalised advice to match your style and budget. Visit us on Main Street, Buncrana. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Or visit hegartyshomeinteriors.ie. Hegarty's Home Interiors, making homes beautiful since 1946.
How does one define grand? Acceptable. Grand. Not too much trouble. That's grand. Say no more. Grand so. It's time to redefine grand and change perceptions. The new Opel Grandland. It's grand. New Opel Grandland. Available in hybrid and electric. Go grand. Test drive the new Opel Grandland at Heron Auto Opel. See heronopel.ie for details.
Got a hidden leak? AMG Leak Detection provides a professional plumbing service throughout Donegal and surrounding areas. Using the latest technology, we find and fix leaks quickly. No mess, no hassle. From pipes to drains, we're here to save you time and money. Don't wait for costly damage. Call AMG Leak Detection today on 086 236 2774 for a leak-free home. AMG Leak Detection. Detect, repair, protect.
And if there's anything happening out on the roads that you want to let us know about and let others know about, please get in touch with us. The usual contacts 086 60 25,000. WhatsApp and text that number or call 074 91 25,000. Traffic into Stranraer backed up to Chircallan. So it's not just Letterkenny experiencing issues today. On health, a private service for health insurance holders, then at least the people in Donegal paying thousands for it are finally able to avail of a service. As for us, the squeezed middle will continue to go to a sham of an ED unit where care is included in the €100 fee. In relation to Brian Turney issuing an apology for giving a reference to a person charged with rape, says a listener, it's a time that all these character references were done away with. A person in the legal profession in my community constantly gives references to people on trial for rape and drugs charges. There's no way this person knows the people personally all the time. Surely something needs to be changed in how these statements are made. Now, not speaking to the Turney incident, but is it a case like for some, it's a little bit like, passports and funerals, that you give character references because it seemed to be part of your job? I don't know the ins and outs of it. I mean, I can understand someone maybe who's a young driver and has made a mistake and they've got the whole life in front of them, and a conviction or something, if it's not incredibly serious, might be problematic for them, and offering a character reference in that regard, it's not something I would do. But, but when someone's accused of a crime of dealing drugs or a sexual assault or domestic violence or issues like that there, I think it would be very ill-advised for someone to be offering character references in that case. Maybe other people feel differently, and I'm sure they do. Plugging in a generator in your premises should be illegal, an offence unless you have the proper setup. I'm surprised that it's not, says the listener. We did do a little Q&A on generators yesterday. During the storm, I had a neighbour install a generator for me. I have now realised that I put myself and my family in danger by doing so, as you need to use a registered electrician. Thank you for always having an informative programme. More people should listen to a programme like yours. I hope they do. A lot of people buying generators last weekend to power their houses during power outages without the proper generator connection and changeover switch at their fuse board. How are these people making a connection? What are the risks? I'm not an electrician, but I'm aware that there's a procedure for this, and not every house is wired with a changeover power switch. What a lot of people were doing, and I'm not condoning it, and that's why we did the piece yesterday, taking out the main switch and plugging it into a 3-pin plug, which gets power around the place, but it is really, really dangerous and something you shouldn't be doing unless you know what you're doing. And also, too, has the potential to feed power back into the grid, which could potentially complicate the reconnection or indeed harm an ESB worker. Showing my age here, Greg. Looking forward to the bank holiday to get some power washing and a general tidy up of the yard and garden. That comes from Eddie. Eddie, that's nothing to do with age. It's fantastic. Get out there and get the power washing done and stand back and look at your work. Admire it. Have a cup of tea. Right, okay. Let's talk now to Sinn Féin Deputy Rory O'Murka. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem, Greg. Morning.
You've been quite critical of the handling of the investigation into the tragic death of Sean Rooney. You say the family deserve justice. What do you believe needs to be done?
Well, this is obviously, it's on the basis of a parliamentary question that I got back on the 22nd of January, and I suppose you can break it into 3 pieces, right? And Micheál Martin at that point in time was still Minister for Defence and Foreign Affairs. And look, I had a considerable amount of over and back in relation to, obviously, that we need to learn the lessons, obviously painful lessons, and obviously a huge price paid by the Rooney family and by Sean Rooney, and that can't be forgotten. But I do welcome the fact that there's going to be a post-incident internal inquiry, because an awful lot of the over and backs I had was about making sure that we learned from this, that we made sure whatever lessons needed to be learned were built into your protocols, your standing operating procedures, and everything in relation to those sort of operations. While peacekeeping can never be absolutely safe, we need to make sure that we look after our people as soon as possible.
Yeah,
and
indeed.
I know the argument.
I get you.
So that's that's the first part, right? Now, we've had much consternation, and I would also say the government haven't said they've been particularly happy in relation to the criminal justice system and what exactly has been going on in Lebanon. We all know the issues that have happened in the Middle East, and particularly in Lebanon in the recent past. Now, Micheál Martin and the government have said that they would leave no stone unturned. So we need to ensure that happens in relation to justice for Sean Rooney. But something that has particularly come up in the last while is the fact that the Dublin coroner was carrying out, obviously, a hearing into Private Rooney's death. And on the 6th of August, they wrote to the UN, and again, this is via the Departments of Defence and Foreign Affairs, so basically the Irish government, requesting access to 2 reports on the investigations carried out by the UN into the incident, and the coroner also requested that the UN become an interested party for the purposes of the inquest.
Yeah, but the question I was going to ask... We've done this before when I've interviewed you before. I just have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Okay, but I was going to say no response has come from the UN.
Yeah, I get you.
From that period of time, and that is the unacceptable piece.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you, Rory. Why is the United Nations, for whom Mr. Rooney gave his life in his peacekeeping operations, do we know why the United Nations are refusing to provide this information not only to the family but to the Dublin Coroner's Court, the government, whomever needs access to it? Why are they withholding this information?
No, this is the piece that we don't know, and this is the fact that there has been no correspondence from that period of time. I think is utterly unacceptable. We did see that RTE had asked questions in relation to this, and we had heard that there would be further information that would be provided to the state. That this information could be provided to the family. Darragh Mackin, the solicitor for the family, had welcomed this, but we really need to see action. So where I will be going on my questioning of both the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach, who now takes his previous position, will be from a point of view, what is the engagement that we have had with the United Nations? You said it yourself. At the end of the day, Sean Rooney died on a UNIFIL operation. They have a duty of care. I have been in Sean Rooney's grandparents' home, and pride of place is given to Antonio Guterres' statement in relation to the bravery of Sean Rooney and how he saved lives and what he did on that particular day. And absolutely, as I say, pride of place, and why wouldn't it have that? But what we need to see is the UN following through. But we also need to make sure that we know that the engagement we're having is absolutely robust, and we bring this to a conclusion. The information needs to be provided. That's only right to every element of the state. If the coroner needs this information, it should be provided, and I think everyone would accept that the family need to be given all information.
Well, it's absolutely horrendous that we have a situation where the family of Sean Rooney don't have information that the United Nations have. I mean, that's just completely unacceptable. Final question. Is there anything further the government or the EU or whomever can do to leverage the United Nations to say, right, this is actually completely unacceptable, give us the information?
Well, see, on some level, this is not like dealing with a rogue government. You're dealing with the United Nations. There is many leverage through many ways and means. First of all, we need to find out what the communication and correspondence has been. And I think at this stage it needs to be escalated. And it is just not acceptable. It is not okay in any way, shape or form. And the UN has also given a guarantee. As I say, we all heard the interview with RTE, or the questioning by RTE, where they asked those questions, and we were told that the information would be forthcoming. While I understand they may have certain reservations in relation to the reports, but it's not about the reports, but it is about the information that is contained within. It's absolutely necessary that the Defence Forces, it's absolutely necessary, as I say, that the government get it. It's absolutely necessary that the coroner would be given this information, and it is in no way acceptable that the family wouldn't be provided with all this information, particularly on the basis of the huge sacrifice that Sean Rooney has made.
Indeed, and thoughts with the family. Thank you very much indeed, Sinn Féin Deputy Rory O'Murcha. Back with the
The
weather.
9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Farmers counting the cost after Storm Éowyn. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we speak to farmers impacted by the storm and ask what needs to happen next. Get key advice on farming without power and water. We analyse what factories pay the best and worst prices for your cattle. Find out how your co-op ranks in milk price. All you need to know about the new 60% slurry storage grant. Plus, exclusive interviews with Agriculture Commissioner Christoph Hansen and new Minister for Agriculture Martin Hayden. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
With the phasing out of R32 refrigerant and heat pumps, discover next generation comfort with the new award-winning Grant Airona R290 heat pump, delivering exceptional performance with quiet operation. The Grant Airona R290, heating for the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.ie.
Having COVID-19 symptoms or testing positive can be worrying, but knowing your risk level helps. Visit knowandgo.ie to find out if you're at risk of developing severe COVID-19. Call your healthcare professional to seek clinical assessment and advice if you contract COVID-19 and are at high risk for developing severe COVID-19. This message is supported by Pfizer Healthcare Ireland.
Get ready, Derry. The legendary UB40 are bringing their iconic sounds to Everington Square Friday 30th of May. Sing along to such classics as Red Red Wine, Can't Help Falling in Love, Kingston Town and many more. UB40, live at Everington Square, Derry. Tickets on sale now from ticketmaster.ie. UB40, presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Join us on March 8th for our special occasion preview with the sparkling afternoon tea in Harvey's Point. Tickets go on sale Friday 31st of January at 7 p.m. Available from mcelhenneys.com.
So there is still going to be some black ice out there, by the way, so be careful if you're out on the roads or on footpaths and what have you. But the weather for the rest of the day, cloud will gradually increase from the west through the day and outbreaks of rain or drizzle will develop in western parts. In the evening, temperatures 5 to 8 degrees with light to moderate south to southwesterly winds, freshening in western areas later. Temperatures tonight, by the way, if you're thinking about what the roads might be like tomorrow morning, are forecast to be 2 to 5 degrees. Hi, Greg. Still no power in the Bogarafo area. We have around half a dozen houses with no power here. And one of the gentlemen affected by that is an 81-year-old man. Very difficult for them. So some people a week on effectively, or close on to a week without power. Thinking on you guys. A listener calling in is a customer and was ringing them about renewal as it went up about €200. He asked if he could get another plan, one that doesn't have fertility or pregnancy included, but was told every plan had to include that. Wife spent hours looking for an X-ray. Doesn't look like the Aphidia is an option, or Aphidia, I think he pronounced it, is an option for them. I would double check with Leah to make sure that you can't go in, pay in advance, and then claim after. That's where things can get a little bit outside of my understanding of the situation. We were talking yesterday about the lady in West Donegal whose house was destroyed by a fire. Kathleen Barrett, I believe her name is. There's a GoFundMe running for her. A caller says the woman is lucky to be alive. The emergency services should be ashamed for not coming with an ambulance to take this lady to hospital. Never mind the red warning. They are emergency service after all, and the fire brigade came, but that didn't actually happen during the red warning. My concern is that that call may have been handled by someone further south in the county, and they were going by a different timeline of red warnings. That poor woman, how cruel life can be for some people. I hope to God she gets through this awful period of her life. Maybe it's time to get Nick Knowles on this case. He'll get the house built for her. Hi, Greg. No one to blame This is more generally speaking. I know it's awful for people who are totally dependent on electricity, but it's nobody's fault. The emergency services are doing their utmost best to repair, but the volume of work is unprecedented. Well, you could dig into that. We're being told all the time the weather is changing. Surely we should have a infrastructure that's more resilient to the weather. And surely we should have two organisations like Irish Water and ESB, working even closer together. Right, let's take a break. We'll have the news and obituaries for you right now, and we'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Changing a name also changes the game. The iconic Audi A4 is now known as the Audi A5. More than simply a number change, it also raises the game in sophistication, sportiness, power, and innovation. Test drive the new Audi A5, part of the 251 Audi range. This is the expression of evolution. This is Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 91 or visit doortech.ie.
Go full Lidl with these bank holiday winners. Fry this on for size with our deluxe breakfast bundle, Irish black or white pudding with Board B approved Irish sausages and bacon for under €4, only on Lidl Plus. And get rugby ready with our adults and kids Irish rugby kits from $3.99. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl this bank holiday.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. Motorists in Donegal are being urged to take extra special care today due to treacherous road conditions. Widespread black ice is causing delays across the county and leading to cars going off the road in some areas. There are also reports of collisions in the Kilmacrennan area and between Ardra and Killybegs. Gritters were deployed at 6 this morning. Motorists are advised to assume that no road is ice-free. Well, there are calls for a substantial increase in the winter maintenance allocation for Donegal. Councillor Donald Coyle says with a large number of routes not included in the Council's already at capacity winter gritting programme, additional support from central government is vital. Donegal County Council has agreed to raise the matter with the Transport Minister. Councillor Coyle says given Donegal's location, the cold weather is prolonged.
More grit and nourish and more grit, and all of that costs money, and the fact that we're so far north here, we get prolonged winter weather. There's a lot of talk there a couple of weeks ago in regards to how bad it was down south. We're well used to that type of weather here in Donegal.
The newly appointed Junior Minister for Sports and Postal Policy, Charlie McConalogue, says he's honoured to be appointed to the position and he believes he can do a lot for the county and the country. Asked if the loss of his seat at the cabinet table will work to his disadvantage and will be bad news for Donegal, he said there is still a lot he can do.
There's great capacity in this position to really make an impact across the county and people's lives. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, I worked really hard and I was delighted and honoured to be Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine over the past 5 years and worked to really deliver for the county, and also then using that government position at Cabinet and now which I will do as Minister of State as well to drive forward our county to make sure we're seeing progress.
Tributes will be paid today to more of the 29 victims of the Omagh bombing on the third day of the public inquiry. The hearings are examining if the real IRA attack in August 1998 could have been prevented. With more, here's Chelsea Keeley.
We'll hear about two of the victims who were working in the town that day. Salon worker Deborah Ann Cartwright evacuated the premises and walked down Market Street when the bomb was detonated. Later we'll hear about 43-year-old shop assistant Gerlene Breslin, who was on her tea break. And the sister of 18-year-old soon-to-be university student Garth Conway will also address the inquiry.
Investigations are continuing into a break-in in Stranraer. Earlier this week, a residential property in the Letterkenny Road area was broken into overnight on Wednesday between 1 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. A sum of cash and car keys were taken. The funeral of Kasper Dudek takes place today. The 20-year-old, a native of Poland who was living in Lifford, was killed when a tree fell on his car as he travelled home from work during Storm Eowyn last Friday morning. It happened at Fedidlas. Mr Dudek's Requiem Mass takes place this morning in St Patrick's Church, Murlough. The N14 between Lifford and Letterkenny at Fedidlas remains closed for the remainder of this week. An update is expected on the reopening of the road over the weekend. In the interim, motorists are advised to use alternative routes through Rafo and Rossgear. Repairs to a burst water main are ongoing in North Inishowen. Supply disruptions may affect Glenealy, Glengad, Carndonagh, Mallinhead and surrounding areas. Uisce Éireann is advising that works are scheduled to take place until 5 o'clock this evening. And in international news, a highly complex search and rescue operation is continuing after a passenger plane collided with a military helicopter in Washington, D.C. 64 people were on board the aircraft when it crashed with the chopper, which had 3 soldiers on board. They both plunged into the Potomac River. Officials say they don't know if there are any survivors. US media say thus far 18 bodies have been recovered. The American Airlines flight had originated in Kansas. Local Senator Roger Marshall says it's devastating.
When one person dies, it's a tragedy, but when many, many, many people die, it's an unbearable sorrow. It's a heartbreak beyond measure. All those lives are so valuable.
Well, the forecast mostly dry with sunny spells and isolated showers this morning. Cloud gradually increasing through the day with outbreaks of rain or drizzle developing. Temperatures are rising. Top temperatures this afternoon will hit 5 to 8 degrees Celsius, but please do remember there may still be some ice on the roads this morning, and please take extreme care if you're driving on the roads around Donegal, particularly ones that aren't on the gritting programme. Check all of today's news, of course, on our website, highlandradio.com, and we're back with news headlines at 11 o'clock. But until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, January the 30th. The death has taken place of James Jimmy Toy, Ruski Manor Cunningham, formerly Drummond Letterkenny. Removal from the Eternal Light Chapel Vrest Mountaintop Letterkenny this afternoon at 3 o'clock, going to Packy and Madge Toy's residence at Ruski Manor Cunningham. Rosary both nights at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 11:15, going to All Saints Church Newton Cunningham for 12 noon Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in St Columba's Church Cemetery, Drummahall. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has occurred of P.T. McCahill, Gerlaw, Letchermack Award. P.T.'s remains will be reposing in McGlynn's funeral home this evening from 4 o'clock with Rosary at 8 o'clock. Removal afterwards to his own home in Letchermack Award. Wake tomorrow at his own home from 11 o'clock with Rosary at 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass on Saturday in St Bridget's Church, Letchermack Award at 12 noon with interment afterwards in the new cemetery. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of James Francis Frank Grant Drumagard Mallinhead. His remains will be reposing at his home from 1 o'clock this afternoon. Removal from there on Saturday afternoon at 1:20, going to St Mary's Church Lag for 2 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Heart Foundation, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Betty McFadden, Cashel, Glentower, Carndonagh. Her remains will be reposing at her late residence from 12 noon today. Removal from there tomorrow evening at 5:30, arriving at Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh at 6 o'clock to repose overnight. Betty's Requiem Mass will take place on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on Carndonagh Parish, Derry Diocese, Ireland. The death has taken place in Vancouver, Canada, of Leela Spear, née Patterson, formerly of Cashel Shanahan, Ramelton, County Donegal. A service of thanksgiving for her life will take place in Donoughmore Presbyterian Church, Castlefin, County Donegal, on Sunday, February the 9th at 2:30. The death has taken place of William Hendy O'Halloran, 70, Mount Carmel Heights, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 9:15 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in Strabane Cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Kathleen Devaney, Glenfad, Porthall and Dunmore Carrigans. Her remains are reposing at her niece Georgina and Brendan Devlin's residence at Tulla-Clonmany. Removal from there tomorrow evening at 5:30, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany to repose overnight. Funeral Mass at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, followed by burial in St Beathan's Cemetery, St Johnston. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Comsky funeral directors. House private, please, from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of James Crossan, Knocknamona, Letterkenny, reposing at his son Mick and Eileen's residence at Knocknamona today from 12 noon until Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning, going to St Junan's Cathedral for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv, followed by burial in the family plot in Cornwall Cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Pascal Blake, funeral director, or any family member. The death has occurred of Myra Kate Campbell, Meanaville, Glenties, reposing at her home. Rosary at 9 o'clock. Requiem Mass in the Church of the Holy Family, Eden Infa at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon, followed by burial in the local cemetery. The death has occurred of Patrick Paddy McGill, late of Orchardstown, Butlerstown, County Waterford, and formerly of Cavan, Lifford, County Donegal, reposing at his residence in Butlerstown, County Waterford, today from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Paddy's Requiem Mass will take place tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Butlerstown, County Waterford. You can view Paddy's Requiem Mass live on St Paul's and butlerstown.ie. Paddy's cremation service will take place on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock at the Island Crematorium, Ringaskiddy, County Cork, which can be viewed on islandcrematorium.ie. House private outside of reposal times, please. Family flowers only, donations if desired to Waterford Healing Arts via iDonate. And the death has taken place of Bridget Harkin, née Doherty, Boharna, Clonmany. Bridget's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding weddings and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
So it's still getting dark just after lunch, and all you've got to look forward to is the rest of January. Dark, gloomy January. Ugh. But no worries. At least Aldi can brighten up your breakfast with specially selected blueberries only $1.99, protein pancakes only $1.75, and pure squeezy honey only $1.69. And you know what? Spring's just around the corner. Just like your local Aldi. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's the second hour of the show this Thursday. Time to catch up on some comments, and this is a question I'm throwing out there because maybe listeners can help. Hello, I just want to know if I can put a question on your show. I would like to be referred to as a concerned older farmer. This is what I would like to know from your listeners, or if you have a solicitor to answer the question on live. I'm a 60 plus farmer and recently had a routine farm inspection from the Department of Agriculture. I was asked to produce my current account details for the previous 12 months and also my savings account to which my payments are paid into. I'm very angry as I produced all my invoices and sales dockets from the farm, but I paid by cash as most older farmers do in my situation. But because I paid for stuff in cash, as I'm paid with cash by my employer off farm full-time work, I have my pay slips to prove it. I think this is a major breach of data protection. Also, I don't have a computer and not online. And to add insult to injury, I had to ask this lady to send this email. Okay, so the issue there might be obvious to some. I suppose maybe it's the deep dive into his own private business. I don't know. Lots of you still messaging in as it relates to the storm. And although we're a week on and many people have moved on, there's still an awful lot of people affected by that. And I certainly don't want to forget them. Read the storm, still without power. You had a guy on from the ESB saying high trees and high winds caused the problem. And they were doing their best. And for us all to be patient. We can't stop high winds, but we can stop high trees. Cut them down where overhead cables are. Prevention is better than cure. My 12-year-old son was asking why this happened every time we have a storm. When I explained why, his response to me was, why don't they cut the trees down? Might sound simplistic, but maintenance should be done either by ESB or landowners. It's not rocket science. And indeed, a very bright 12-year-old very clearly worked out the problem. If the same thing keeps happening, big trees taking down cables, will you cut the trees down or you trim the tops of them? As a retired person who managed storms and damage to networks, it would appear to me that the people in charge of the networks were left to manage the situation and government disappeared for a break themselves. Highland, fair play. You hitting the right buttons. It shows how much government care and leave us to the people who care dangling in the air. The new government should be renamed Maidfane. Hi Greg, thanks for keeping us informed. It's unfortunate that the storm occurred after the general election. If it was 3 weeks before the election, all the stops would have been pulled out and all support supplied. The elected government don't care now as they have their feet under the cabinet table. The big jobs have been given out. It's 5 years till the next election. They hope this storm will be forgotten by then and they'll start the bluff and spin all over again. People have short memories. That's from a listener. Hi to your listener. I'm a farmer. I've got 34 trees down and they're no good. In me complaining on radio about it. Just do what farmers do. Just get on with it. That's life. Thank you. Okay. Not very sympathetic, but I understand that's a different point of view. Thanks to all the men who turned up at Desert Hegney in Dunree, Buncrana to save the church roof. They took off the old roof and they put on a new roof with felt and all. They landed out with diggers and worked well. Fair play. Considering the amount we pay for our electricity, we should get a better service in the sense they need better backup for their customers. In the last 3 months, we've had many power cuts on days where the grass isn't even moving. Just a small point here regarding measures to be taken following the storm. Communication, emergency hubs. Simple point here. Why are the authorities not allowing a chimney in a new house in this situation last week? If people had an open fire, put on a good fire, surround it. Well, that's what we had. I mean, we were very lucky to have an open fire. Stove was no use because obviously that's how the pipes start going if you put that on. And a gas hob, which was given to us, actually. We've since purchased one and managed. But I would not have liked to have been in the property without an open fire. That being said, actually, I did purchase for really quite cheap, a diesel heater. They're hard to track down. You kind of have to get them online. I haven't seen them supplied locally. It's a little diesel heater, only 100 odd quid. Has to be piped up a certain way, but it pumps out so much hot air. That would have been my next point, my next call to action if the fire wasn't there. Just a small point here regarding measures to be taken. Oh, I've just read that one. I'm sorry. Hi Greg, I just cannot understand why our government haven't come off their holidays to help the country after this awful storm. We still have no power. ESB are doing fantastic work, but surely the government should have helped. But they have said through Darragh O'Brien that they actually were coordinating this response. It's very dangerous to cut trees near power lines. It's the ESB's responsibility to isolate power and remove trees. Chances are the trees were there before the lines. Greg, I saw a post regarding changing godparents. I saw a post regarding changing godparents, godmother, godfather. Can it be done? As my children's this has come up on this show a couple of times before, actually. As my children's godfathers never bothered about them. Yes, they are family. It's been 15 years since one acknowledged my daughter, and about 11 years my other daughter. Would love to think you can change them, even if they're 20 or 18 now. So can you switch out godparents? It's an interesting question. As I say, I can't remember what came of our conversation on this before, but it certainly has come up. And I think there's quite a lot of people out there would like to do this. So firstly, have you ever done it? Secondly, what do you think about doing it? And thirdly, if you can do it, how do you do it? Can you change your godmother or godparents for your child if you don't think really they're stepping up to the plate and you think there could be someone else in their life that might have more of a positive influence? What kind of a council do we have here in Donegal? What kind of a third world cowboy country do we live in? Ireland has experienced storms since antiquity, yet our politicians in the 21st century, with all modern tech, continue to spout BS about learning from the experience. Just an excuse for the lack of preparation for such weather incidents in the land of eternal winter. The storm of 98 was equally as bad as this one. Right, which one was that? I don't recall. I know there was one in the noughties, but it's not often you get one that impacts the whole country as it did. The government are telling us no homes will have open fires. Everything has to be earth to water. Yet in the storm, there's nothing working. No one could charge their car or anything. It's clear the system does not work in rural Donegal. And in fact, quite a few EV car home owners whose cars were charged were using the car for power. Greg, in Denmark, with the same population, the cabinet is led by the Prime Minister. There are around 25 members of cabinet known as ministers, all of whom are also heads of specific government ministries. Well, we've got 38, so there you go, Denmark. Greg, the bottom line here is the government is ripping the people off. They don't give a damn about it. It's people. It's all about money for themselves, says a listener. On the issue of Super Junior ministers, of which we don't have one in Donegal, for a population of 5 million, why do we need all these ministers? How can a city like London be run if we need 15 ministers and Super Junior ministers? There's too much nepotism and jobs for the boys going on, and normally I'd say and girls, mostly boys. Even our president has 2 fancy cars in case one of them breaks down. Right, okay, and also quite a reaction to our conversation yesterday about screening and what have you. Loads and loads of comments that have been coming in. They came in late in the day yesterday. I'm trying to catch up because they're so important to us. More will be read before the end of the show. But we are going to take a break now because it is Thursday, and hopefully one of you could collect a few £1,000 by winning the bingo jackpot.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday the 30th of January, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €9,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 5. The jackpot number is 48. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 38, 84, 24, 6, 41, 37, 74, 2, 54, and finally 32. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Hi everyone, David James here, and I'm really excited to be launching my brand new band in the Allingham Arms Bundoran on Saturday the 1st of February with my special guests Hugo Duncan and Conor O'Donnell. Come along for a great night of music as I launch my new band, Saturday the 1st of February, the Allingham Arms Bundoran.
On Business Matters this week, I'll be speaking with Brenda Hegarty, Head of Enterprise at the Local Enterprise Office Donegal, about the courses and supports available. Plus, I'll be looking at the corporate travel sector with Travel Counsellor Ciara McConnell. So join me, Chris Ashmore, for Business Matters after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal.
If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the local enterprise office to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
The Easy Living Furniture biggest sale ever must end this Sunday. Absolutely everything is reduced across all our departments, including sofas, dining, bedroom, mattresses and home accessories. Shop the furniture you love at the best prices ever at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry. Don't miss out. The biggest sale ever ends this Sunday.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Now, speed limits are lowering. And I've seen a lot of posts on social media which suggest that every speed limit in the country is lowering, that 100's going to 80, is it 80 going to 50, 50 to 30 and all that type of stuff, right? And it is confusing because my understanding is that this was coming in on a phased basis. But as I say, people and elected politicians actually have seen sharing links suggesting that every speed limit in the entire country is all going down on the 7th. Let's get some clarity from Diane Harvey, owner of Dee's School of Motoring. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Confused. How are you?
The whole country's confused, Greg, I think.
Right. So there are changes taking place on the 7th of February. What are they?
The changes are taking place on the 7th of February. It would be your local primary, your local secondary, like your 80-kilometre zone. This is the only zone that's been affected to start off with the rollout of the reducing the speed limits. So like the 80 will be reduced to 60.
So those roads, you know those roads, you've seen that, we all drive them, of course, but you've seen the images whereby it's a little tiny back road with grass growing up the middle and it says 80 kilometres per hour. You could never, nor should you ever, drive at 80 kilometres on those roads. Presumably those roads are included. But what about sort of some of the roads that we would use on a more regular basis? I can't just think of one off the top of my head, but the listeners will know, where the speed limit's 80. Let's say, for instance, it's 80 between Carragart and Downings, for an example. Does that go down to 60?
Yes. Yes. They'll all go down to 60. Like when you say, number one, remember, Greg, a speed limit's a limit, not a target.
Of course.
If somebody's on a small rural road, and obviously they would not be travelling at 80 kilometres, even though a sign says that. There is signs in the country that would blow your mind and say, oh God, you can't believe that that's there, you know. But no, that's the start of it. Like, it's later in the year, everyone thinks that these other limits are going to go down, but later in the year they will roll off very slowly.
I was under the impression too the local authority had discretion in this, in that, legislatively, all of those speed limits could be changed, but it would be up to the local authority to do an audit and determine, what hundreds needs to be 80. In other words, say, for instance, if you're travelling from Ballybofey to Donegal town, 100 drop into 80, surely that road's not going to be 80 kilometres per hour through the gap.
Well, I'd say, like, in the local authorities, like, every road is assessed all the time anyway, which is meant to be, like, so you can see where school limits went down to 30, to within the communities. So, like, my understanding of it, what I'm reading into it is, when they are rolling off, it'll go with, like, say, in the town, would be down to 30, whereas busy with, like, say, buses and businesses and stuff like that. So that's where it would be reduced, where there'd be a lot of pedestrians. So that's where the limit of 50 would be going down to 30. I understand what you're saying about the 100 down to 80. I think that will cause a lot of havoc in the country, because...
But that's if it happens.
A lorry can only travel at 80.
Like, I mean, there's no way traffic's going to abide by an 80 kilometre per hour speed limit between... See, trying to get clarity on this is difficult, but between Ballybofey and Donegal town. But if you travel from Kilmacrennan to Dunfanaghy, for an example, that's a 100 kilometre road that probably should be 80, or if you are travelling towards Lifford, there are certainly large swathes of that arguably could be 80 and not 100. But I presume when it comes to those roads, the council will have some discretion on retaining the upper speed limit, but there is provision to lower it if need be.
I would say 100%. I would agree with you on that thought. I guess I say this is probably why they're doing this first section first, because this is where the most road deaths is on the speed limits of 80 to 100.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I think that they've taken this road to reduce first.
Right. So what we do know, what we do know then, that any signpost now that reads 80 kilometres per hour on a rural road, the new speed limit will be 60.
Yeah, so your local primary and your local secondary, like they'll be replaced with either the 60 kilometre sign or the new speed limit sign, with the white circle with the three black lines in it.
So
it'll be replaced with those.
So then, for instance, if you're going from, I'm trying to pick roads out, so if you're going from Carragart to Milford, which is primarily an 80, are we saying that that's going to be 60?
Yes.
Well, I don't. That doesn't.
No, I'm not familiar with that particular road.
No, it's a primary secondary road, but it's going to be very difficult for people to get about.
Yes. Yes. Like as a school of motoring myself, like Greg, I would learner drivers all the time, and people actually get frustrated behind us, and we're only learning people.
Yeah.
You know, because we would be a wee bit slower, and because the students are only learning, so it does cause people does get angry. So that's something everyone's just going to have to kind of try and deal with this one step at a time.
Yeah, I get the road.
It's all over social media.
Yeah, I get the road safety side of it, Dan, but there's also us being able to get about. And as I say, just given that example of say Carragart to Milford, you know, like I know the speed limit is not a target; it's a guide. But if you were expected to trund along that, and it's still not a limit, it's a guide at 55 kilometres per hour, it's going to take us an absolute age to get anywhere. I'm trying to think of some other 80s that would be dropping down as well. I actually didn't think that was going to be the case. That's really quite remarkable. So as a educator, we do know, of course, statistically, it's not the motorways, right? It's not the modern roads that are 100 or 120 where most collisions take place. It is on these urban primary, secondary roads.
This is the only one that's been, like, social media and all has everyone very confused. This is the only road sign that's been changed from the 7th of February.
What do you think about it?
It's going to be trial and error. You know, it's some roads I think that it's not suitable. I think some roads are great. They'll be okay for 80. But like I'd like to think they're assessing these roads as coordinates are going along, you know. But the one thing that annoys me really is the lack of knowledge, the lack of information, the lack, the Department of Transport, like, getting this information out to the public.
Yeah, I'm still not. I still have my doubt. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying, and I try and disseminate information to get information out there. You know that is accurate. I know a lot of what's on the social media is wrong. I still question if 80 is going to go down to 60 on roads like I mentioned. But you seem certain of that, Diane. It just seems really. It's going to be really difficult and slow to get about.
I'm not familiar with that particular road.
Well, it's a primary secondary road that has an 80 kilometre speed limit. For an example.
What it says in gov.ie and all is local primary and local secondary. So if they're classed as them, they are the ones that's going down to 60 kilometres.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So like I did notice this morning, there's a lot of new poles. Like there's a lot of new poles up. Well, let's hope that the signage is up to guide the people as well.
Yeah, because obviously a lot of people could be caught out with speed vans on some of these sections.
Yeah, well, speed vans is a total different ball game, Greg, because like you see a speed van sitting in a 50 kilometre zone, you know, outside schools and stuff, when it should be out on the big roads, you know.
Yeah, I get you. Right, okay. Listen, thanks very much. Thanks very much for joining us. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem at all, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. You have a good day too. That's Diane Harvey, owner of Dee's School of Motoring. There was a public consultation on. I hope I haven't put out bad information there. Donegal County Council last year commenced a speed limit public consultation. This was for the draft road traffic speed limits bylaw 2024 amendment. Phase 1, reduction in rural local road limit to 60 kilometres unless specified in the 2024 bylaw amendment. Okay, so that is, as I understood it, then that there can be exemptions if it's not practical. We don't know what they are yet. I'm trying to get that information. Diane's working off the same information I have, and she's right in clarifying that not every speed limit in the country is going to be reduced, but we'll try and get some more clarity on the types of roads that I'm talking of, because there was a public consultation, and as I suggested in that interview, there is latitude within the council to retain the higher speed limit where practical. It's going to cause great difficulty for cars and buses travelling from the likes of Fana to Letterkenny. It means a great inconvenience of children starting the day much earlier to make it on time and obey speed limits. Again, is this going to be the road that you're referencing there? Is that going to be one that is exempt, as is the council has in their gift, I believe? I'm from Ballybofey, now living in Convoy. About 30 years ago, the speed limit at Kilross was changed to 80. The issue is many good straight roads are being changed, while more narrow roads with bends are not. Well, I don't think we have all the info. Back to generators. So many people need educated on risks associated with generators. A number of fatalities and a number of near misses and homes destroyed. I've heard of so many purchases of generators for family homes bought in haste during the recent storm. Please be mindful of the dangers of electricity, the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning, and the risks of wrecking your home if you don't know what you're at, which is what we were talking about in the show yesterday. Thanks, Alon. Obviously, never have a generator inside the house. Never, ever, because of the carbon monoxide. And these things are little cute things. Often the ones you can get are little cute things and they run relatively quiet, but what comes out of their exhaust can be very, very dangerous. And just be careful when plumbing into your house. Get an expert. And I'm sure there are plenty of electricians who are getting lots of texts, some from me, in fact. Still waiting on a reply. There were lots of electricians getting texts about generators over the last weekend. On the speed limits, lowering the speed limit will mean driving in one or two gears lower, costing more fuel and more of Eamon Ryan's pollution. The road from Glenties to Letterkenny is 80 kilometres at the minute. Will that become 60? Again, you see, I don't believe that. The council are up to their ears at the moment with post-storm stuff. I find it hard to believe, though I'm not saying it's not the case, that Glenties to Letterkenny would become 60. You know, that it's that blanket. Is this one of the roads that an exemption will be applied? Please take everything I say at the moment with a pinch of salt, because I'm working with limited information. Greg, I believe national primary roads are numbered N1, N50, national secondary roads N51, N99. Surely that means nearly the whole of Inishowen Peninsula will now be down to 60. Absolutely crazy. That comes in from James. James, again, I don't want to mislead. That would seem crazy. So leave that with us. We'll try and get some clarity on that. Morning, Greg. Is there anybody anywhere in our government with an ounce of common sense or intelligence? This idea of changing the speed limits is a shambles. Speeders will speed, especially when there are no cameras or speed vans about. Plus, how much will it cost the taxpayer to replace all the road signs? Madness, they say. All right, let me take a break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
This bank holiday Sunday at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, there's Claudia Buckley and her band. Dancing from 9 till 11, admission €20. Doors open from 8 with support artist from 8:15. And don't miss Nathan Carter in concert on Sunday, February 9th. Tickets priced at €35. Available from the Clanry Hotel reception. Overnight packages available. But this Sunday, don't miss Claudia Buckley at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
The Hillary's big winter sale just got even better with an extra 10% off absolutely everything. That's on top of up to half price on hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. And right now, get free thermal lining on our favourite Roman blinds and curtains to help keep your home extra warm and cosy this winter. Our expert advisors ensure a perfect fit with measuring and fitting always included. Visit hillarys.ie to book your free in-home appointment today. But be quick, extra 10% off everything ends 3rd of February. Conditions apply.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware half-price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $4.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $9.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware half-price sale extended until Bank Holiday Monday.
For all you hard workers and multitaskers, those who come to work with big ambitions and bigger ideas, and all you legends of the trade. However you get the job done, there's a Volkswagen commercial vehicle for your business. Choose the new Transporter, Caddy Cargo, Crafter, Amarok, or the all-electric ID Buzz Cargo. Enjoy HB finance from 0% or purchase contributions of up to €2,000. Find the Volkswagen in you with the 251 range. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit volkswagenvans.ie for further information.
Enjoy real savings this bank holiday at Super Value. Until Sunday, Super Value fresh Irish beef round roast better than half price. Pick up lowest price guaranteed 15-can packs such as Budweiser and Heineken from $22.39. And scan your card or app and get Pringles selected range now $1.75. Make real savings every week at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. DRS applies.
All right, there's a major 3-day event taking place on February 1st, 2nd and 3rd at the Mount Ergal Hotel in Letterkenny. It's the Donegal New Build and Rebuild 2025. We're going to talk about that now for a time. Paddy Kelly's the organiser of this year's event, this year's exhibition. He's with us in studio now. Hi, Paddy.
Hi, how you doing, Greg? How's
I'm
things?
doing good. Right, this is big, isn't it? There's going to be an awful lot of stuff on show. And it's kind of obviously really relevant because we're hoping to see more people being able to build homes as per government promises. But also, obviously, there's lots of people sadly having to rebuild their homes.
Yeah, look, it's a show that's kind of grown legs over the last few years. The show initially was started, I think it was around about 2007. It was Darren Foy, Christy Lynch, guys like that were behind it. And they approached me a few years ago to get behind it and kind of, event management will be my background. And we've taken it on to hopefully a different level now, huge crowds. It's the biggest show of its kind in the Northwest. I suppose one of the key differences that we would have compared to other shows, it's a free event. So people can come along, they can pop in on the Saturday, and if they want to come back on the Sunday, there's no charge. They can come in and talk to the experts in their fields. And we do have a lot of, with some of the top exhibitors, some of the top business people in Donegal there on hand to answer any questions people have.
So just as an example, if you were rebuilding, and you were, you don't necessarily know what the best form of insulation is that the type of query, and there'll be multiple questions, but that you could get expert advice and demonstrations and maybe see the different forms of something like insulation that's open to you?
Yeah, well, this is it. Well, one of the key things at the show, I suppose, would be Advanced Timber Frame. Darren there actually builds a small house inside the hall in the Mount Ergal, and it's an open plan that you can go and take a look at the open house, and he'll show you, or some of the experts will be there to show you, if you have questions about insulation, electrical, or so on, you can see where it's going to go and how it's going to go and how it's going to fit in. He's got windows, doors, look, these guys are experts in their field. This is their business. This is what they're doing. It's their opportunity to be at a show where they can talk to the masses, to the multiples, rather than talking to people individually.
Yeah, and obviously, the ability to move property now is quite difficult. So lots of people, and would be anyway, are looking to rejig their property, to renovate their property. So that's a cohort too, I'm sure, that would be very interested in attending, looking for ideas, options, advice, etc.
Well, this is it, and and a big thank you to our sponsors, by the way, because we couldn't do the show without them. But these guys, are going to be there, and they have offers on the day. And if you're thinking about renovating, thinking about maybe putting on a new fireplace, thinking about maybe putting on conservatories, doing whatever it is that you might be doing up a room, a snug, whatever it is, these guys are there, and they're going to advise you the best way to approach that build or rebuild.
Shane Doherty's an architect and he's with us as well. Shane, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
Your clients now, obviously, they're sourcing their own info, like going to events like this and talking to you. How important do you see showcases like this?
Yeah, listen, a show like this is great. The amount, to be honest, it probably covers everything from start to finish in a build or a rebuild. And it's a great source of information for clients. Like, a lot of people just don't know where to start. So they come along, they can speak to the relevant experts, get that guidance, like there's handouts, giving them information. We have our own step-by-step guide there for a build or a rebuild. which just it breaks it down into simple stages for people.
Because it can be so overwhelming that you'd almost put it off, even if you have the resources to get going.
Exactly, and even like you've mentioned, obviously the likes of people rebuilding their homes, like some people would have done a self build previously, but a lot of people would have bought their house. So it's daunting to start into that process. So to get that information from the exhibitors and the experts that are there, and it's across the field from the structural side of things, like advanced timber frame, to the insulation, and then right into finishes from.
Yeah, I was going to ask you: do you see more people now inquiring about alternative to breeze block building?
Yes, I suppose, and obviously due to the defective concrete block crisis, there are a number of alternatives, and there's a combination of reasons, obviously because of their experiences with concrete blocks, but also the speed of construction, the likes of timber frame. If people have to be out of their house and back into it, it's a speedier process. They're obviously saving to pay on rent elsewhere, that type of thing. So it's definitely an attractive option. Obviously, there's other benefits too regarding the thermal properties then of the likes of a timber frame house. You're into A, B rated properties, sort of thing.
When I was building my house, in terms of heating, there was two questions really: back boiler or no back boiler. I couldn't afford the back boiler at the time, still regret it, or whether to put the burner on the inside or the outside, and that was it.
Yeah,
and it's perhaps generational. A lot of people maybe in their 20s, heading towards the 30s, are very familiar with all the different heating options, but there are an awful lot of heating options out there, and they have their pluses and their minuses. So that's just one tiny little area of rebuilding or building.
Exactly.
That it feels like a minefield if you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly that, and it is, and even for the likes of myself, I actually built my own home only 2 years ago, and even though I'm involved in the industry, even that it's the same for even people like me. So for someone without any experience, it is daunting. But people there, like Efficient Renewables, are there on the day. The likes of heating systems and solar energy and stuff. They break it down. They give you they would show the options that are available. And obviously the likes of ourselves too. Like we're dealing with multiple projects, so we can give guidance then to clients as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting, when we talk of different heating systems, and that we think of that I would try to. I'm talking to myself, if it were me. Not to think into the short term, into the long term, because over the last week, right, you would think, well, air to water is the worst invention since God knows what, right? But that's just now in this moment, and following a storm, a very major storm, but also too with our current infrastructure, because you're building a house for the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years. So, Paddy, an awful lot of home building now is about, keeping the air out, keeping the heat in, how you heat your home, whether you put solar panels in as part of a new build, all of that sort of stuff. And I think it's a little bit like, trying to look for a career in a recession. You don't want to think about necessarily in the now. You do need to sort of think in the long term.
Well, you do. Well, I'm one of those people at the present moment, because you're looking at retrofitting and so on. But I should just mention at this stage as well, something different this year. We have guest speakers, and one of the guest speakers that we have this year, I'll just mention the guest speakers, but one of them is Christy Lynch from Efficient Renewables. Now, Christy will be on hand, for example, to talk about grants that are available. Look, everybody's asking the question, what kind of grant can I get? Well, come along and Christy will tell you exactly what you can get, and that applies to other businesses as well, whether it's insulation or so on. So, but the guest speakers that we would have,
I'm getting me cavities pumped next week.
Well, there you go, and I hope you used one of our guys at the show, because they're giving great offers.
Give you some names.
They are. Well, Brendan McGee, one of our sponsors, McGee Insulation. But look at I just want to mention.
I'm actually going to the dentist.
You're going to the dentist?
No, I'm only joking. No, getting the cavities pumped. Sorry, I'm distracting you, Paddy.
No, you're okay. But I just want to mention, because we're trying to make the show a little bit different every year. We're trying to kind of grow, year by year. So this year we're introducing guest speakers. So we have Claire McDonough and Anne Blake from Lammy is on. We have Michael Broderick from the First Home Scheme. We have Sally Ann Mulholland from the AIB, Christy Lynch from Efficient Renewables, and Vincent Cranley from Donegal County Council, speaking about vacant property refurbishments. They're going to be giving talks in a separate room, and if anybody's interested in any of those particular fields, go on.
Well,
we have
in terms of vacant properties, we know the uptake and that it's
in
the high hundreds. Stay there, because I can build a house, but Claire McDonough arguably makes it a home. interior designer and owner of La Maison. She's with us now. Hi, Claire. You know, interior design is such an important part of what makes your home a home, whether you want the clean lines, whether you want, you know, lots of plush materials or light, all that kind of stuff. And that's where that's part of your expertise as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, listening to Shane there, Shane's job is so important, you know, designing the building in terms of the functionality and the light and the sight and the aspect of light and all of that's really important. But where we're finding a lot of our clients are overwhelmed with the interior fit out, you know, when it comes to making choices. And the most surprising thing and the feedback we get all the time from people would be, I didn't realise the builder would be asking for these things quite so early in the build.
So give us an example of that, Claire.
So, for example, you know, the block work has started, and the architect will be saying, right, where's the oven going? You know, and the client will be thinking, well, I haven't even thought about the kitchen yet. And the reason the builder is asking that question is, the next trade that he has booked to come in will be the electrician, and he can't wire for your oven and your fridge and all your electrics until they know the layout of your kitchen. So your kitchen design should be happening very, very early on. And when you're doing the kitchen layout and design, you may as well do the electrical for the whole house. And at that point, what we find is a lot of homeowners get sort of maybe a bit tied up in what's the kitchen going to look like, what colour are my cabinets and all that sort of thing. We're saying our job as designers to pull them right back and say, actually, can we get the layout correct first?
Yeah.
So that's a very good example of planning early will reduce stress further on, but it'll ensure you actually get the best interior fit out. And then when we're doing that, then of course we begin to talk about colours and finishes and palettes and, you know, worktops and metal and all of that. But we have to get the ground foundation pieces right. And that's about early planning, the layouts of your bathrooms, the layouts of furniture, all of that sort of thing happens much, much earlier than people think. So over the years in La Maison, we have come up with a formula, if you like, a chronology, a schedule of the order in which you need to make decisions and plan. So that's what we do. That's what we bring to the table. So people think we fluff cushions, and of course we do that too, but much early on we're very involved in the planning. So it's the nature of how do you approach the interior fit out early on, plan well so you don't waste money, you're ahead of your builder, and that's going to be the nature of the talk that Anne and I are going to be giving at the weekend.
Shane, I wouldn't have, you know, ordinarily thought that you would have to work so closely with interior designers so early in the process.
Oh, definitely. Like, just to touch on what Claire was going on, we actually offer a full 3D service, meaning that and we're asking the same questions that Claire's answering. We're sitting down with clients, and when we're designing the house and asking them about kitchen layouts, and they're baffled, wondering why we're asking. But it does, even the position of windows and things like that. And by then seeing it in the 3D model, it helps. Now, we would do a generic kind of kitchen layout, but fit everything in, and then obviously the likes of Claire would come on board then to kind of you know, bring that bit further, sort of thing, you know. All
right, Claire, looking forward to speaking at the event. What day are you on, if not all three?
We're speaking Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Sorry, Sunday and Monday. And Monday, sorry, are the 2 days for the talks.
Yeah, because there's practical stuff, and then there's the plusher stuff that I sort of referenced as well. Okay, interesting.
Exactly.
Thanks very much, Claire. That's Claire McDonough there, who's an interior designer and owner of La Maison Zoom. Plenty of plugs, Shane. Plug sockets.
Yeah.
Plug sockets everywhere.
Yeah, especially now,
the
obviously.
The difference between a house, an older house with a couple of plug sockets in the bedroom. You never know when you want the bed, where the lamps are. Just fill your house with plug sockets.
Well, yes, but they have to be in the right location. Like,
of course, that's up to you. I want 7 plug sockets that room. Where?
I know, exactly. But like when you see it in the 3D, like we would position the bed, so then someone might go, oh, well, I don't want the bed there. So then by doing that, before you're even on site and there's a builder involved, you're kind of finalising a lot of those sort of decisions that might seem like minor decisions, but ultimately, yes, when it comes to the building on site,
that's why you engage experts, because they point you in the direction that you may not realise you need to be looking. Paddy, so we've just given some examples there, some practical examples of what can be an incredibly exciting time, and I know even those who have been terribly affected by defective concrete blocks. Once the house is demolished and they're working through those emotions and they can start sort of maybe reimagining their new home, they do allow themselves to sort of get positive and excited about it too, as much as is possible. So this is one of those events, and I think particularly as well, a very important one is the vacant property, derelict property grant, because there's an awful lot of activity in that regard. I suspect it's actually going to be the biggest deliverer of new housing in this county over the next couple of years, far more in excess than housing estates and what have you.
Yeah, well, it seems to be, I would know very little about that end of things, but I know from talking to people, it's a lot of derelict old farmhouses, farm buildings, things like that, family property that's just been lying there, and now that they have the opportunity, they're getting the grants, and as I say, Vincent Cranhill will be the expert on hand to answer any questions on that. You've got people that are living abroad, maybe, that, the family home's lying there or whatever, and it's an opportunity now for people to, spruce it up a little bit, do it. I mean, there is a housing shortage, as we all know, in this country. So anybody at all who can provide rental accommodation for somebody, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. Indeed, a principal private residence for themselves. Okay, so opening times, Saturday 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. That's this coming Saturday, isn't it? I'm confused.
It's this coming Saturday.
A month, I'm out of it.
Well, to be honest with you, we normally would have been on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday, but it's the bank holiday weekend. There's another event on in the Mount Errigal on the Friday, so we don't have access until the Saturday. But we decided to go ahead with this weekend.
Because it is one of those public holidays where the weather may be not fantastic, and what do you do?
Exactly. Well, this is what we're hoping, and we're encouraging people. I would like to just re-emphasize again, I suppose, that admission is free, but every year we do pick a local charity, and we have donation boxes if anybody wants to give. And this year's local charity is the St Vincent de Paul, the local branch of the St Vincent de Paul. So, admission is free. Come along, and if you can support the charity, all well and good.
I see AIB are one of the sponsors. Is there advice on the day, do you know, in terms of financing?
It's on financing, but I think from talking to Sally Ann, they're going to be really focusing on the Green Initiative this year. There's a lot of loans towards
low interest mortgages.
Exactly.
Course,
yeah. Better
green mortgages, they're called.
This is it. Okay. Could I just mention the sponsors, because without them we cannot do the show.
Can I do it? Because I'll do it quicker.
Well, you know what, Greg?
No, go on ahead. I'm only joking.
Greg, no,
I'm running out of time. Advanced Timber Frame, Patterson's Kitchen and Interiors, McGee Insulation. You mentioned McDade's Bathroom and Plumbing, Florit, Homes of Donegal, that's a free mag. Sprat Fireplaces and Stove Centre, again a big decision you have to make when you're building. The AIB, as I mentioned, and Efficient Renewables. Listen, gents, thanks so much for your time. It's free. It's February 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And the times are 1 to 5 on Saturday, 12 to 6 on Sunday, 12 to 6 on Monday.
And finally, just before we go, Greg, I just want to thank Highland Radio. Every year you do get behind us and support us on the initiative, and Iconic Media as well for all their help and support. So thanks again.
All right, thank you very much to Claire McDonough, interior designer and owner of La Maison Letterkenny, Shane Doherty, an architect, thanks Shane, and Paddy Kelly, the organiser of this year's Donegal Self-Build and Rebuild exhibition.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
2025 is here, and at Radisson Hotel and Spa Sligo, we're celebrating the new year in style. Book direct and save a minimum of 20% on bed and breakfast rates for a limited time only. Explore Ireland's Wild Atlantic Way and all that Sligo has to offer, with stay dates available throughout 2025. Book direct and save today at radsligo.com.
Are you building, rebuilding, or simply improving your home? Come along to Donegal's premier gathering of home building professionals in the Northwest. Donegal New Build and Rebuild 2025 will take place in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, February 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Admission is free to this 3-day event. This ad is sponsored by Sprat Fireplaces.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents Europe's #1 tribute to Johnny Cash. Clive John brings the Johnny Cash Roadshow with special guest Trevor Smith and his tribute to Garth Brooks to the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, on Saturday the 22nd of March. A fast-paced, energetic 2-band show playing all the hits of the legend that was Johnny Cash and Garth Brooks on one stage. Tickets on sale now from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores, with 20% off everything you need for a delicious steak dinner for two. That's your choice from a fantastic selection of wine and champagne, like Whispering Angel and Moet et Chandon. 2 succulent Irish strip loin or ribeye steaks, and skinny cut or chunky chips, all 20% off. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Join us on March 8th for our special occasion preview with the sparkling afternoon tea in Harvey's Point. Tickets go on sale Friday 31st of January at 7 p.m. Available from mcelhennys.com.
Okay, so the weather forecast today, and as I say, just still be careful out there. There might be some lingering black ice just to be on the safe side. But the rest of the day, mostly dry with sunny spells, just isolated showers early on. Cloud will gradually increase from the west through the day, and outbreaks of rain or drizzle will develop across the region. Temperatures, that's by evening. Temperatures 5 to 8 degrees with light to moderate south to southwesterly winds. It is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio, and the morning is flying. I suppose it helps when you turn up 15 minutes late. I, amongst, I would say hundreds or thousands, if you include school children, delayed this morning through Letterkenny. A bit of ice, and the town's getting very, very busy. But the same in Ballybofey and All, I was told as well. Right, I'm going to take one quick break. I have to catch up on these because we want to bring you the news headlines at 11 o'clock.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
On Business Matters this week, I'll be speaking with Brenda Hegarty, Head of Enterprise at the local enterprise office Donegal, about the courses and supports available. Plus, I'll be looking at the corporate travel sector with travel counsellor Ciara McConnell. So join me, Chris Ashmore, for Business Matters after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the Local Enterprise Office to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Winter sale now on at Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town. Amazing prices on made-to-order kitchens, sliding wardrobes and much more. Don't miss your chance to transform your home at unbeatable prices. Book your appointment today at cherrymore.ie or call 07497 25822. Cherrymore, 28 years of adding quality and value to your home.
If you have a cough, flu, sore throat, or if you're just feeling miserable, don't suffer through it. At McGee's Chemist, we have the expertise to help you feel better. Our pharmacists and experienced staff will recommend the most effective over-the-counter solutions and give advice on how best to manage your symptoms. At McGee's, we have a wide range of trusted brands and products to help you recover. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
And it is 11 o'clock, so let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Newly appointed Sports and Postal Policy Minister Charlie McConalogue says he's honoured to be appointed to the position and is looking forward to working with clubs and organisations in Donegal and nationwide. Asked if the loss of his cabinet seat was a blow, he said he expects to be able to do a lot as junior minister and intends to be a strong voice. Well, this morning he's been urged by Donegal TD Padraig McLaughlin to immediately carry out an urgent review as to why funding for a new Buncrana Leisure Centre was unsuccessful late last year under the Large Scale Sports Infrastructure Fund. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin says the Inishowen Peninsula, with 40,000 people, has been without a community leisure centre and swimming pool now for far too long. He says the local committee with Donegal County Council had progressed to a shovel-ready project, and this decision not to fund that must be revisited. There are calls for a substantial increase in the winter maintenance allocation for Donegal. Councillor Donald Coyle says with a large number of routes not included in the Council's already at capacity winter gritting programme, additional support from central government is vital. Donegal County Council is to raise this issue with the new Transport Minister, Darragh O'Brien. The management committee at the Donegal Education Support Centre says the decision to relocate from Donegal town to Glenview Business Park in Letterkenny in the spring was made following extensive consultation and collaboration with school leaders, teachers and staff. They say a lengthy process, including the sending out of surveys to schools in all parts of the county, showed there was a strong desire for change. And you can read that full statement on our website, highlandradio.com. Investigations are continuing into a break-in in Stranora earlier this week. A residential property in the Letterkenny Road area was broken into between 1 a.m. and 7:30 yesterday morning. A sum of cash and car keys were taken, and repairs to a burst water main are ongoing in North Inishowen. Supply disruptions may affect areas around Glenealy, Glengad, Carndonagh, Malin Head. Uisce Éireann are advising works will take place until 5 o'clock this evening. They're the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Okay, Donald, thank you.
Ever considered what a farmer, a retailer and an ice cream van owner have in common? They all rely on this planet. Every business does. That's why AIB is here to help. Our Green Living Hub has the practical knowledge and support businesses need to become more sustainable. Search AIB Green Business to find out more. AIB, for the life you're after. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
A caller asks, how have home building and interior design evolved over the years in terms of style and materials used, as there's now a push for sustainability and for everything to be environmentally friendly? How has that changed the way homes are built today? We touched on much of that during that interview. How have people been inspired by home renovation programmes such as Room to Improve in both interior design and architecture? What are the design trends we can expect for 25? We might actually do a separate feature. We used to do it, actually. I enjoyed it, and it was quite popular, where we talk about design trends and what have you. So we'll get that back up and running again for you. Right, cost of electricity has soared. So expensive to run some of these items. Our bill for 2 months, 1k. That's a renewable system and a well-insulated house. Grants are great, but need to pay ongoing costs. Caller got cavities pumped 10 years ago, but would not recommend it as cracks started to show. And I've had some off-air advice in relation to that, which, thank you, I do appreciate it. Sarah Monaghan, We Consent Manager at Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, joins us. We mentioned on the programme yesterday some findings of a new study, which made for uncomfortable reading as a man. I'm not going to lie to you. It's new research. And I wanted to tease it out a little bit more with Sarah. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Right. The headline that seems to have jumped out from this, 25% of men, 1 in 4, they're not sure sex without consent is a widespread or is as widespread a problem as it's made out to be. What do you think the message behind that stat?
Yeah, I think something that was very clear from this piece of research as a whole is that there's significant discrepancy between men and women's understanding of consent, both in practice and, it seems, in their, I suppose, appreciation of consent and sexual violence as a societal issue. So 25% of men agreeing with that statement, as you mentioned, and that's, compared to 14% of women. So there's a significant difference there. We know from the CSO statistics released 2023 that over half of women have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime and a quarter of men. So, there is no question that this is a widespread societal problem. It's been described by the Minister of Justice as an epidemic. And yet we see that gap in, I suppose, appreciation of that problem or in seeing that problem as serious. Mm-hmm. There is a gap in direct personal experience between men and women, but this seems to be about something more than that, because really you only need to turn on the radio or open social media or have an honest conversation with someone close to you to know that this is a huge and widespread problem. So I think it makes it really clear to us that is not reaching men in the same way. That's kind of, I suppose, uncomfortable reality.
Just in relation to that, Sarah, is it clear whether the fellows that we're talking about are think that, and it's going to be mostly men and women, isn't it, right? So they're saying, not exclusively, but mostly, are they saying, I'm a man, you're a woman, you initially consented, or you gave out the signs, and I'm just going to crack on with what I want to do because I'm a fella? Or is it that they don't understand the legal consequences or actually the legal space around this? You know what I mean? So is it a macho thing, if I could call it like that there, or is it an ignorance of the law?
I think it's a mix of things. Also in that study we saw 1 in 10 people agreeing that even when the other person originally says no, it can be okay to keep going and they might get in the mood. And that's significantly higher for men than it is for women. And I think it's very important to recognise that a yes resulting from pressure or coercion or even from that, any kind of badgering or repeated attempts to try and get a yes from somebody is not real and meaningful consent. It needs to be something that's agreed between all parties who are, happy to engage in it, feel safe and feel completely comfortable to stop at any time. So that kind of practice of asking just repeatedly until you get a yes is still, I think, quite common and has been reinforced, I think, over many years. By we've often seen it in TV and film, that depiction of a woman being asked and asked and asked, or of suitors turning up at their house even when she's made it clear she's not interested. And this was really sold to us as
romance,
the height of romance.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah, that it was something desirable, and I think that has caused a lot of confusion here in the actual understanding of consent and boundaries.
Also, almost half of men agree that people often make up accusations about non-consensual sex. Now, despite the efforts of the likes of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, I think you're up against something far more influential, and that is trials and cases, for an example, being decided in the court of public opinion, which influences that, and also too, sort of the place and role of women being stated in a negative way by, people who have an awful lot of influence in the social media space. There's absolutely no doubt that those examples I have given there are going to influence men, and I can only see these figures increasing because most of that stuff and conversation and opinion is directed at young guys that are becoming men. So rather than in many things, we see a new generation coming through and things improving, our attitudes maybe to the climate or whatever it might be. But in an area like this, about the attitude to made up accusations, unfortunately, I see that figure rising. I think next year, after all that's gone on so far into this year, that could even be a greater number.
Yeah, and I think it is a particularly worrying statistic, and it's very important for us to all take note of that. Given how much of the population have experienced sexual violence, we also know how few people go on to tell anybody in their life about it. And even further from that, how few go on to report it to the guards and to access the formal justice system. And the main reason that people do not tell anyone about what happened to them is that they believe that it's not serious enough. And so when you see a statistic like that, with 46% of men agreeing that people often make up accusations, that is a myth, and it is precisely the type of myth which makes people more reluctant to come forward.
Well, you see, that's
to seek help and
it's
to
not
seek
about
justice.
one case involving someone like a Conor McGregor or whatever, and I'm not referencing that case directly, okay? But that is a high-profile case that it seemed okay to have an opinion one way or other, okay? It is about our sisters, our mothers, our daughters, our nieces that may feel, this has happened to me, and you'll know it's happened to them because you'll trust them, but they won't go forward to the Gardaí or even maybe engage with a rape crisis centre because they fear that they won't believed, because the statistic shows that 1 in 2 men may well not believe that they were the victims. And that's
right.
very, very troubling.
Yes, and that's absolutely right, Greg. And I think that's why it's so important for anyone listening to this or for anyone seeing this research this week to really think about that, because we all have a role to play in that. While perpetrators of sexual violence, that they have ultimate responsibility for that act. On a wider sense, when we make comments about cases that are in the media, when we make jokes, when we share stuff in WhatsApp groups, we need to be aware that statistically there is somebody in our lives, somebody who's a family member, somebody who's a friend, somebody that we care about and would never want to hurt, who is listening to that and who has experienced sexual violence. So in lots of ways, we may be telling someone close to us that we have doubts, that we believe these myths, that, we hold opinions about survivors of sexual violence, that we would never want them to feel, about themselves. So I think it's important for all of us to take note of that and be careful about how we judge people, how we talk about these different cases that come up in the media, how we, engage on social media and so on, because it definitely has an impact on whether people will come forward and look for help or look for justice.
Yeah, and just to clarify in relation to that, if someone is a victim of sexual violence, be it recently or not so recent as well, you can go to the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre or the Letterkenny Rape Crisis Centre, and that does not necessarily trigger a train of events that means the Gardaí are involved. It means you can go there, you can get support, compassion and direction and support if you decide to pursue it. But getting help for yourself from one of these centres doesn't mean that automatically that you have to pursue a legal case against someone. I think it's important to point that out, Sarah, just because I might have thrown something in there that might discourage people from going to a centre, which they certainly should, because it's a completely non-judgmental and incredibly understanding and helpful environment.
Absolutely, that's very important, yeah.
Okay, when we look at another set of stats, I don't know if this is positive actually, that more than half of dating adults said they were fearful that a partner might say that the sexual encounter that occurred when they were drinking was not consensual. That sounds like maybe the penny's dropping. I don't know if I'm reading this wrong, Sarah, in that, maybe now people are more conscious of actual consent, active consent, verbal consent, or sort of a lack of resistance is not consent. I think people are understanding the relationship with drink and sexual encounters and how people have to be very careful.
Absolutely, I think your reading of that is correct. I think that there is a huge positivity to that statistic. People are certainly more aware of consent and that it needs to be to the forefront, and that it's an important issue in practice between individuals than previously. But what that statistic, I suppose, also shows us is that people are unsure, and there's a level of nervousness and uncertainty about how exactly to practice consent, especially when maybe you have other factors such as alcohol or drugs or whatever it might be involved. So I think it shows us, without a doubt, how important different education initiatives, how important the SVHE programme revision, how important awareness raising campaigns all are, because people are looking for that type of education and that type of upskilling, I suppose, in the practice of consent, because they're aware that it's important, but they're clearly just a little bit concerned that they're not fully able to practice it.
Yeah, I think a lot of men under the age of 35, and sorry if this sounds like it's men bashing, but this is just the reality of the topic we're talking about, and a lot of guys 18 to 24. The lack of understanding about consent, the withdrawal of consent, the changing of a mind is kind of concerning, because this, as I said a little earlier on, and you referenced some of the statistics I'm talking about now, is this is a new generation of people coming through that very well may have gone through some of the courses and classes that you talked of in our schools, yet there are some really quite toxic opinions that remain.
Yes, and I think, we do see, I suppose, a significant minority of younger men, and so it's the age group 18 to 24, who believe that once you've consented, you can't really change your mind. And that is, of course, a fundamental misunderstanding of consent. By law, you are entitled to change your mind at any time during a sexual encounter, and that must be respected by the other person. It's not a once-off yes, no at the beginning of an encounter. You need to be continually checking in with each other. I think that, with that age group who may have had some formal education in this area, it really shows us that in isolation isn't quite enough. It's not enough to just do your classes in school and then come outside of school and never talk about it, never have any further support or conversation or education about it. We all, as siblings, parents, colleagues, as friends, we should all be supporting that education that happens, on a cultural level outside of the classroom to happen, because just in isolation, that, 40-minute class or whatever it might be, while it's very important to have, it's not enough for us to all change our behaviour for the better, and for us
also
to all
just because
change our thinking.
something is taught in school, it doesn't remove the parental responsibilities either to ensure that you chat to your lads or your girls, for example, because it's important for girls to understand what consent is.
Absolutely.
Like, just because something is taught in
Absolutely.
school, it doesn't mean that that's it, right? Sorted, line drawn under that, because as some of the ads play out, you get the phone call, you get called to the Garda station, and you don't want to do that. You can avoid it by educating your young people. Sarah Monaghan,
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead. Sarah Monaghan, I was just going to thank you. We Consent Manager at Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Goodbye. That's Sarah Monaghan there, as I mentioned. Let me see. What grant would you have to get if you're putting air to water in the house? If you go to, there's only 3 or 4 grants that's available. The SEAI, is it? Just search SEAI grants. I think there's one for air to water. There's one for attic insulation. There's one for cavity insulation and others. It's really quite simple. You can get approval for a grant in about 20 seconds. It is effectively you're approved if you have a house, but I mean there's always a cost that you're going to have to bear depending on your roof. I think the roof insulation grant is 15 or 1600 euro, but it might cost you 3 or 4 grand to pump your roof. The internal walls in a bungalow might cost around 3 grand. The grant is around 1750 or something like that there. I think there's 50 euro towards an inspection. So it doesn't cover everything, but it might cover more than you anticipated. Morning, Greg. The new speed regulation is unavailable. For example, 80 kilometres to 60 kilometres. Here's an example. If a tractor is doing 55k for someone to pass it, they'll have to break the speed limit to do so. It's utterly stupidity. But if a car's doing 95 and you want to do 100, it's still you still have to break the speed limit to overtake them. Good morning, Greg. Not much sense changing speed limit signs as there's nobody to enforce it. I live in Convoy and the council done speed checks. We're in a 50 zone and speeds were recorded at 108. The average was 78. We're supposed to get speed ramps, drawings are all sorted in the council, but the speed is still terrible. Thanks. I recently changed euro to sterling, was asked for my address and date of birth. Is this normal? That comes in from Marie. I believe it's to do with money laundering and the movement of money. That has come up before, and I think we searched that out, and it is normal because for those reasons, money laundering, they have to ask you, or the movement of money, especially if it's a larger sum. I want to ask what our 100% redress county councillors are doing since elected. They seem to be very quiet. Interested to hear if they're working and campaigning for the things they said they would, or do they feel their hands are tied or what? I've heard plenty from them, to be honest with you, not necessarily just on the radio or newspapers, but on social media. Joy Bird and others, very active in terms of raising issues at the council, as are all of our councillors. But I certainly don't think they're particularly quiet. We're based in the Lifford Castlefin area. The ESB says there's a small number of houses still out. We cannot get information. We've got no broadband. We're now on our 6th day, and today we will have to move out because it's so cold. I have tried the councillors. They tell me to contact the ESB, but I'm getting no answers. I'm on the phone 3 hours this morning looking for answers and getting nowhere. The problem is that, is it a case that everyone, where there's 10 people with outages, are they going to get sorted before you get sorted? I'm not sure how that all works. Reducing the speeds limits is a money racket. Anti-motorists and will definitely not reduce the type of fatal collisions that generally occur. It's dangerous to drive below 30 kilometres and it increases emissions. The opposition should listen to the people and put an end to this ludicrous stupidity. That comes in via email from John.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Heading off on holiday? Don't forget to park to relax. Travelling for business? Well, then just park to work. Flying for a city break? Simply park to explore. No matter where you're going, you'll find safe, secure shuttle parking just 6 minutes from the airport at Dublin's newest airport car park, Park 2 Travel. Visit park2travel.ie now to book your space from March 10th, and then simply park to go. Park2travel.ie. For when you need to park to, well, travel.
Farmers counting the cost after Storm Éowyn. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we speak to farmers impacted by the storm and ask what needs to happen next. Get key advice on farming without power and water. We analyse what factories pay the best and worst prices for your cattle. Find out how your co-op ranks in milk price. All you need to know about the new 60% slurry storage grant. Plus, exclusive interviews with Agriculture Commissioner Christoph Hansen and new Minister for Agriculture Martin Hayden. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex beds, mountaintop leather Kenny. Leave the rest to us.
The Easy Living Furniture biggest sale ever must end this Sunday. Absolutely everything is reduced across all our departments, including sofas, dining, bedroom, mattresses, and home accessories. Shop the furniture you love at the best prices ever at Easy Living Furniture. Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry. Don't miss out. The biggest sale ever ends this Sunday.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
21 minutes past 11. We're joined on the programme now by Ethna McLaughlin, manager of Kilolta in Falcara. Thanks so much for joining us, Ethna. How are you getting on?
Not getting on too badly.
Physically,
a lot of work done.
Physically, but in terms of infrastructure, you've got an awful doing with Storm Éowyn.
Well, I think what you call when we went down on Saturday after the Friday wind, it was shocking. So it was. We had lost about 100 p inside the glass house, and we had 9 tunnels, quite large tunnels, and we have 6 of them gone. Now 3 of them were lost before in the winter in the storm in December. So we were just trying to recover from that to get that infrastructure sorted out. Because if you don't deal with the damage that's done there, and then it can actually add to more, it can create more damage. So it can. So we have lost one tunnel, and these tunnels are 9 metres by 24 metres. One's completely, the metal and that's completely gone. We lost another one, has to be stripped down, plastic all gone, damage done, and another one that we lost last year. The wooden posts in the doorway had been broken by the wind, the force of the wind. So then that got the wind in under the covering. So we have saved that one. So we have in the last couple of days. I suppose when you look around you and see the damage has been done all over, we've been very lucky. In one aspect, we have electricity, we have power, we have water, we have all those services. When you look at what happened to that young man in Lifford, nobody was injured. You feel for his family, and then I suppose when you look at Gaza and you think, oh God, when you look at those different things, I suppose one element. But we got hit last year as well in the tunnels, so we're just recovering from the infrastructure we lost and was damaged and has been repaired to get hit like this in such a short time. We have never been hit like this before in the tunnels. That's not to say that we've had 1 or 2 tunnels damaged. We have. We went through this, so we did about 20-25 years ago, where at one stage there was about 20 after storm. There's 240 panes of glass lost in the glass house. So we looked at that and said, look, we can't keep going this. Either we walk away or we try and sort something out. So at that stage we planted hedging all around the glass house. Hedging now is up about 16 foot. That has given us huge resilience, so it has in the glass house and in securing the glass house. Now we have to move. Before Christmas, we're looking at trying to say, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to protect this better? I
just want to let people know as well, by the way, that Kilolta, based out in Falcara, 15 people employed on a full and part-time basis, and supplying products or produce to 7 shops, 10 restaurants, and over 100 households, this with local sustainable produce. Before we talk about sort of what next, was there stuff in the glass houses, the polytunnels, that's also been lost at this time, i.e.,
No, we're lucky. We're lucky that way, so we are, Greg. We had in one of the tunnel has been completely right off. We had produce in that, we've garlic in that, but garlic can grow outside. So we're kind of hoping that we would be able to see that, because that's quite an investment in seed and soil preparation and doing all that work. So it is. What we'd hope to do is to get the mats back down over it, because we grow in mats go down, and the garlic goes into the holes in the mats. So it has been lifted with the wind. So we're trying to get that back down before the garlic gets much bigger. Just otherwise, you're creating more work that have to go and start the weeding process. So we were lucky that way. We would start with early potatoes. They would go into the ground on the 1st of February. That's usually our target. 1st of February, what I call for St. Bridget's Day coming up. So we're lucky. Any of the crops that we would have very little crops at this time of the year in the ground, and we were lucky as well with the glass. Usually it takes much longer to clean the glass up. But we were lucky because we black mats down. We put in seaweed in that during the winter, and then we put mats over the top of it to heat it up, breaks down much easier. So we were lucky the glass fell on top of the mats, these black mats, so it was much quicker. Like we have filled a full one of these double bins with we had 3/4 filled with the glass that we've cleaned up. In fact, whenever we tried to get it moved yesterday, they couldn't pick it up because of the weight in it. So we have to deal with that. But we've used up all our spare glass. We always keep spare glass, all gone. We need to start buying glass again.
What next,
and then
though, Ethna? Because unfortunately, given the nature of these constructions, you can't get insurance, so you have to come up with your money yourselves. And I presume you know the margins aren't AI chip level. You know the margins are tight enough, right? So with what you've gone through with with this storm, and with the previous losses, you know the wrong side of the balance sheet's probably overtaken the good side of it. So, and also too, it's kind of looking like, can these be constructed in a way to resist the weather we're likely to get into the future? So, with all of that in mind, what does the future hold for Killalta?
Well, I think unless we put these back up, we might as well close the door and walk away.
Right.
You know, the place won't work without these. So we've cleared them all. A huge amount of work. We've had people come in to come and help us this week to get it cleared up, so at least we're safe. And I think at the beginning of the week we thought there was going to be another storm. So whenever the wind hits the glass house, whenever it bangs into it, well, when everything comes down, the wind goes back up again, so it'll make another hole to get out. So we've got the large holes. The glass has been replaced with there, simply because the expertise of our staff. So we've got to replace. We need to reconstruct. We need to get support to replace. But in that replacement and upgrading, we need to consider the resilience that how are we going to look at this. And as you said there, we've looked at this. We've looked at trying to cover them with polycarbonate. We had long discussions with some of the experts that we had before Christmas. Say, is this an option? It's not an option for what we have. So we need to get stronger metal. We need to put in more supports. And I was even looking at the makeup of the tunnels that were lost in Monaghan and down the country, and I was looking and saying, they're very similar to ours, but everyone needs to start looking at this. They need to put in stronger supports and bars between the ribs.
All right. Well,
so this
is a local business creating local produce for local consumers. Do you think there's a role here, and I think the IFA actually have indicated that they are of the view, that some sort of a government scheme for the horticultural producers like yourself and those down the country that were affected by this, a specific post-storm scheme or assistance?
I think a package needs to be put together, and I think it needs to be done. I suppose I think it has to be wider than the horticulture. It has to be wider. It has to look at communities as well. A lot of community groups have done, a lot of damage has been done to communities during the storm, and we do realise that the households have paid for this, and families, and some families still open, and we have to recognise that there is an issue there as well. But there's something needs to be done for community groups. Something needs to come in and say, look, but as part of this package, there's no point in saying, just give us it, we'll do the same again. There needs to be an element of resilience built into this. There needs to be that element of support needs to come in to look at resilience, or the group need to look at resilience themselves. Like the damage that we had done to the glass house that was ongoing in the glass house for 25 years ago till recently, what they call hasn't been anywhere near what the damage has been done on an ongoing basis. Before we had this huge hedge planted, like it took years for it to come up, but it has supported and protected this glass house. There's an acre of glass there, and when you think of it, the site that we work on is the site of an old tomato growing industrial site. There used to be 8 acres of glass on this site.
Wow.
4 glass houses, all 2 acres each. So we have the remaining 1 acre. So this glass house has stood here for 50, 60 years. We had a huge investment made by Udris Nagasata onto the site about 4 years ago, during just as COVID we're coming out of COVID in 2020. A new roof went on it because it had lived its lifetime ago, had finished really, but that has kept it going. So we had hoped that this would be here for the next 50 years as well. But we need to look at resilience. We need to say this is now the beginning of what's to come. I believe. And the
easiest thing in the world would be to give up. But I mean, there, as you say, there's historical presence on site, but also to produce produce that's needed locally. We can't just give up on this, can we? Or we shouldn't.
Well, I think when we look at in global terms, what's happening, we hear that the whole issue now is going to be shortage of food, and the whole thing of food sovereignty, where your food comes, what's in your food. I think the role of the project is probably more important now than it has been the last 50 years. And I suppose once it opened, it got up and going, and the next thing, these glass houses were heated by oil. So when the oil crisis came, imagine what happened. And I suppose we went into the EU and the EU's agriculture policy for diversification. So these smaller projects and smaller fields all disappeared. Whereas what we're doing, we've worked on sustainability within the farming and trying to bring back cultivation in an EIP project for the last 5 years. And I think we're now kind of reversing. It's a complete U-turn from. We're going back to where we were before in the EU, and it's to look that really we need to look at our food, and in the time of food shortages globally, we need to be able to use our own resources, but have to have that expertise.
Yeah, and I hope you get the support because it's a big rebuild. As you quite rightly pointed out, there are people far worse off, but everything's subjective too, and it's a big deal for you guys to be dealing with. Thank you very much for speaking to us, and as I say, I hope you get to rebuild back bigger and better than before. That's Ethna McLaughlin, who's manager of Kilolta in Falcarra.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Live electricity wires are always near, and coming close to them can be dangerous. So always ask yourself, are you sure it's safe? Look out for electricity wires above and below you. If in doubt, call us on 1800 372 999. It might just save your life. ESB Networks. Stay safe and stay clear of electricity wires.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Transform your home with Hegarty's Home Interiors in Buncrana. Discover a wide selection of stylish furniture and decor to create your perfect space. Our expert team offers personalised advice to match your style and budget. Visit us on Main Street, Buncrana. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. or visit hegartyshomeinteriors.ie. Hegarty's Home Interiors, making homes beautiful since 1946.
Expecting a baby? Then a visit to Cool Kids Sligo January sale is a must, with up to 25% off selected push chairs, car seats, nursery furniture and high chairs. Get expert advice on all things baby at Cool Kids Sligo, with deposits accepted and free nationwide delivery. Shop online at babyaccessories.ie.
A caller says farmers are not allowed to cut down trees from March until September, and then from the land, and from then on, the land is too wet. Preservation order on a tree that it can't be cut or touched. New burning laws. Stuff cut down from trees cannot be burned because of birds' nests. I presume, though, if there is a threat to infrastructure or your property or something, you can cut a tree down, can you not? And in terms of burning wood, I believe it's just the amount of moisture that's in it. I don't think there's a blanket ban on that. Greg, we have a stove with a back boiler. We were able to light this, but just had to keep running off the hot water. As long as you have water, you can still light a stove with a back boiler. Just run off the hot water to stop the tank from bursting. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, you're spot on. And we had the boiler running low. And then not so low, and then obviously we did have to run hot water off. My concern was if we were leaving the house, I kind of felt that if you lit the back boiler, then you sort of was stuck there, rather than maybe heading out to do something or other. As a homeowner living in a home with a sustainable heating system, we were left without any backup for 5 days with young children. SEAI grants only available if you pull out your traditional fuel-sourced heating system in older houses. How can the junior minister get a top-up of €45,000? How can they legally get away with this? Well, it's great, isn't it? Wouldn't it be fantastic? I mean, that top-up is 50% more than the average annual wage here. So imagine getting a top-up to your income. That's 50% more than the average wage in Donegal. It's, I suppose it's how the other half live. My big question would be maybe ESB should look at calling in local electricians to help ease the load in emergencies like this. I'm sure if they really put their minds to it, they could come up with some sort of training that would cover sparks to help them out. Just a thought. It's actually interesting because that came in previously that a previous electrician I was speaking to talked of having some sort of a network of electricians that can respond in instances like this, and maybe could deal with the houses that we talked of earlier, 3 or 4 houses without power. Maybe the local gang could deal with that whilst the ESB crews themselves dealt with things that were bigger. I don't know, but it's certainly an interesting prospect. Now, as you would know, the Donegal Education Support Centre is relocating to Glenview Business Park in Letterkenny this spring. It's been approved by the Department of Education. They believe it's a fantastic idea, that it will serve teachers right across the county better. It means, though, pulling out of the premises that they have in Donegal town. There's been a lot of disquiet about this, obviously, from staff, because if they are to stay in their employment, they're probably facing an hour-long trip to work and an hour-long back. But there's also those in the teaching profession that don't think it's a good idea. It's an issue being tracked and followed and campaigned on by independent councillor Jimmy Brogan, who was at a meeting of the Save Our Education Centre group last night. So how well attended was this meeting, Jimmy? What was the mood?
Yes, Greg, how's it going? No, it was just a small meeting. We didn't invite a big crowd. We just invited a small number of people. Staff representatives, representatives like myself, the mayor of the town, a few teachers, secondary school teachers, primary school teachers, retired teachers, things like that. So it wasn't that we just invited a small number of people just to kick things off. But we intend having a public meeting now soon, probably in the next week or so. The date and time is yet to be formalised, but we're intending having a public meeting just to explain to the local people exactly the circumstances that's going on here. A lot of people aren't aware of what's going on, and especially how the staff have been treated through the whole procedure.
Obviously, as I mentioned just in the preamble, the staff are obviously going to be upset, unless you lived in Letterkenny and you were commuting down to Donegal town. But is it mostly the staff that are upset about this, or is there universal support from teachers and SNAs around the county? Obviously, Jimmy, you would understand I get to speak to those people that are most motivated to chat about this. But genuinely, Jimmy, is this mainly about the staff, or are teachers, SNAs and others genuinely upset that this is being moved to Letterkenny?
Yeah, well, there's sort of two different issues, really. There's the issue with the staff and the way they've been treated, and there's the issue of the actual education centre being moved away from Donegal town.
Well, we know the staff are going to be upset about it, so can you focus on the second element of it?
Yeah. So one of the local teachers, principal teacher, set up a group among teachers themselves, to try to gauge the support among teachers. And like she said, something like 300 and something people. Obviously, I'm not a teacher, so I'm not on that.
Understood.
Group,
yeah.
There's over 300 people. I can't remember the exact number, but over 300 people have joined that group and voiced their support for the centre to stay in Donegal town. Now, she wrote a letter to the management committee, and she asked teachers to email her with to allow their names to be put on the letter. And there's way over 100 teachers emailed her, took the time out to email her to make sure that their name was added to the letter as well. So there is massive support among teachers in South Donegal, but as well as that in North Donegal and around Letterkenny, and we have teachers from Inishowen who voiced their concerns as well.
Really?
They have no problem. They have no problem.
So I mean, a
moving.
teacher in Inishowen would favour it staying where it is and travelling to Donegal town rather than travelling to Letterkenny.
The thing is, Greg, they don't have to travel to Donegal town.
I know a lot of it's remotely.
A lot of it's done remotely. They have outreach centres in Letterkenny and up in Inishowen, all over the county really. And a lot of the courses are done online as well, But the teachers are used to dealing with the staff that's there. They know what they're getting at. They know, everybody's there. They know that the staff. Let's be realistic. You can't move 50 or 60 miles. If your job moves 50 or 60i miles,
I get that.
These aren't people on teachers' wages,
But all that being said, is there another solution? Is there another solution to this, Jimmy? Because the decision has been made. They're relocating to Glenview Business Park. They're investing in the new premises. They're investing in parking facilities. It's been approved by the Department of Education. They argue, whether you agree or disagree, that it's been done with a level of consultation. The wheels are in motion. This does not feel like one of those decisions that's going to be reversed. So firstly, do you believe it is a decision that can be reversed? And secondly, if not, is there an alternative, a compensation or something for the workers that are being moved to Letterkenny? What is the solution or solutions you see to this, Jimmy?
Well, listen, that's a difficult question because the obvious solution that the people in Donegal town and the staff want to be, and a lot of the teachers want is to remain where it is. Now, I know there's been moves. It's started. The processes of moving has started. But listen, the wheels can be stopped. At the end of the day, this education centre was there for 27 years. It was installed. It was a Minister of Education's decision back 27 years ago. Niamh Brannock was her name. It was her decision to put it in Donegal town. So we think that the minister should be involved in the decision to move it. Now, the previous minister has told us that it's a management decision. The management haven't really consulted with teachers. They sent out what they call a survey to gauge teachers. Get a bit of information on what teachers wanted around the county. But most teachers that I'm talking to have no knowledge of the survey ever happening. The management committee seem to have used this survey as their reason for moving, but teachers in South Donegal and West Donegal haven't seen the survey.
All right,
and a lot of it seemingly was sent to old email addresses and stuff like that, So listen, the whole thing has been handled terribly.
Okay, we'll see what comes of the. Sorry, go ahead.
The AGM of the Donegal Education Centre was supposed to be held last week. It was cancelled on the day it was supposed to be held. And we think this should be a decision for teachers, not just the 13 or 14 or whatever members of the management committee,
Okay.
None of
I'm
the
going to read a
teachers
statement
were
from
really...
them. I get you. Okay. Well, listen, your views are very much on the record, Jimmy. We appreciate you accepting the invite to come on. We'll see what comes of it. A public meeting will take place in the coming days, and we'll chat about that then. But for now, Jimmy, thank you.
Okay,
Councillor Jimmy Brogan. Right, so a statement, and it's quite a long one. And because there's been a lot of discourse from one side of it, I'm going to read it all, even though it is quite long. There's one little bit of it that I would take a little bit of an issue with, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the statement reads as follows. The Donegal Education Support Centre is relocating to Glenview Business Park in Letterkenny this spring and has approval from the Department of Education. This move will make the centre more accessible and centrally located for teachers from all corners of Donegal, north, south, east and west, ensuring equal access for everyone. Accessibility was a key factor in this decision, and relocating to Letterkenny addresses these concerns, providing equitable access to training and support services for educators across the county. As an education support centre for all of Donegal, every teacher deserves an equal opportunity for professional development, enabling them to deliver the highest quality education to every child. They say the decision was made following extensive consultation and collaboration with school leaders, teachers and staff. To gather data, surveys were sent out to schools in all parts of Donegal in February 2024, and there was also consultation with many of our stakeholders, which took place over a few months. Arising from this was a strong desire for change. The move to Letterkenny will, they say, significantly enhance DESC's capacity to deliver high-quality face-to-face professional training and support for principals, teachers and special needs assistants. With 178 primary schools, 28 post-primary schools and 2 special schools in Donegal, the relocation positions DESC to better meet the evolving needs of the educational community while fostering accessibility, deeper engagement and collaboration with schools and other educational bodies across the county. Meetings have been held to provide opportunities for staff to express their views and concerns, they say. The management committee has worked with staff and their representative body, Forsa, and as a result, staff will be offered a hybrid working arrangement with flexibility that will balance operational needs with individual circumstances. So they're staying there effectively. They've consulted with the staff, they've consulted with Forsa, an arrangement is put in place whereby there is hybrid working, some in office, some out of office. They go on. The DSC Management Committee is made up of 13 people, consisting of principals, deputy principals, teachers, retired teachers and teachers on support services, and they represent all the municipal districts in Donegal. Now, this is the bit I take slight issue with. Contrary to what was said on radio, which I believe this was on this programme, 2 members live in Letterkenny, with the remaining members coming from West Donegal, Inishowen, Milford, the Finn Valley area and Donegal town. These volunteers have dedicated their time and effort for many years to ensure that educators across the county have access to high quality courses and resources. The commitment reflects a shared mission to support every child in Donegal in receiving the highest standard of education regardless of location. Now, what I believe that is a reference to is, and I clarified it at the time, it was suggested, and I clarified it as I say that because I'd spoken to teachers that were in the Killybegs Donegal town area, that those that are making the decision are more reflective of the entire county. And I said it quite clearly that those people would have seen or thought or believed that Letterkenny was a more central location for all of the county. And I made that incredibly clear that would have been the motivation for their decision. That they were taking a county-wide element to it and saw Letterkenny as a more central position. You can listen back to that. Finally, the decision to relocate was not made lightly. While change can be challenging, the management committee firmly believes this move is in the best interests of the broader educational community. The relocation represents a vital step in fulfilling DESC's mission to serve all teachers, all being in black capitals, school leaders and learners across Donegal, from South Donegal up to Inishowen and from west to east. We're confident that this transition will strengthen DESC's ability to support the educational community effectively for years to come. As I say, it's just I've covered a lot of these campaigns, and it's not to discourage anyone. This is a decision that is incredibly advanced. They also talk there of consultation with staff and Forsa, which represents staff. They say they've offered staff hybrid working arrangements, which means presumably on some occasions they have to travel into Letterkenny for work, but if operational needs require and individuals' circumstances are taken into consideration, they can work from home. So that's that. We'll see how it progresses, but that's the view there of DESC. I'll be back with the weather and comments after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Donegal eventually get their Division 1 League campaign up and running this Saturday evening when they welcome Dublin to McCool Park. After last week's postponed game in Kerry, this weekend's fixture will give the Donegal faithful a first look at the side under the new rules. Join me, Oisín Kelly and Brendan Devaney for full live match coverage on Highland, including the build-up from 7:15pm this Saturday evening in Ballybuffet.
Coverage of Donegal action in the National Football League is with Highland Motors and the new Dacia Duster. Explore new horizons and become part of the huge success story that is the Dacia Duster. Now available in hybrid and petrol.
Get ready, Derry. The legendary UB40 are bringing their iconic sounds to Everington Square Friday 30th of May. Sing along to such classics as Red Red Wine, Can't Help Falling in Love, Kingston Town and many more. UB40, live at Everington Square, Derry. Tickets on sale now from ticketmaster.ie. UB40, presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
In the month of Bridget, you're invited to join Ard's Friary for a weekend retreat of poetry, music, silence and conversation from the 14th to the 16th of February, as we take time to welcome the light of healing, creativity and new growth. Bookings on info@ardsfriary.ie.
Transform your space with McCafferty Tiles Ballabufay, specialising in large format and designer tiles. We offer expert installation and free design consultation in our showroom or on site. Let us bring your vision to life with bespoke recommendations. Call 086 242 3604 or find us on Facebook and Instagram. McCafferty Tiles Ballabufay, showroom by appointment.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Join us on March 8th for our special occasion preview with the sparkling afternoon tea in Harvey's Point. Tickets go on sale Friday 31st of January at 7 p.m. Available from mcelhennys.com.
Okay, so mostly dry with sunny spells, just isolated showers. Cloud will gradually increase from the west through the day, and outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in western areas, i.e. us. Highest temperatures 5 to 8 degrees, with light to moderate south to southwest winds, freshening in western areas later. Rain, which will be heavy at times, will clear eastwards early on tonight. Clear spells and isolated showers will follow from the west. Lowest temperatures of 2 to 5 degrees, with moderate to fresh westerly winds. So no ice being forecast at this stage, though 2's pretty low. Stay tuned to us from the get-go, 6:30 tomorrow morning with Lee Gooch. And if there are any sections of the road that you need to be concerned about, we'll let you know. It may not be the case, but we just don't know. Let me see. Hi, Greg. I had no power or water for 3 days. The main issue with the restoration of electricity is the level of available manpower to the ESB and the scale of damage around the island. The great staff of the ESB can't work 24 hours a day, and unfortunately, it makes no sense for the ESB to hire hundreds of additional staff to restore power faster in the event of a once-in-a-generation storm occurring again. And that's why I presume generators and manpower are joining the quest from not only Britain but also Europe. Most of the power outages are caused by trees blown over on cables. If people were given a 1-year heads up that any trees damaging ESB cables, they'd be fined. If people maintained their own property, it would dramatically reduce future power outages as a result of storm damage. I get you, but at the moment we still sort of arguably can't get people to look after their hedges or clean their drains. So there's a lot to be done there. Could tie it all in, actually. Make sure your drains are clear. And also make sure hedges are cut in a timely fashion. Hi, Greg. My heart goes out to all those people without power or water or both for almost a week now. But my heart also goes out to those men, women out working day and night trying to restore it. My brother has been out since last Saturday working in all conditions and working from first light until 10 at night. They're exhausted at this stage. There was so much damage done, and in some very remote areas that are almost impossible to reach. And the one thing I think has come from this is plenty of credit and appreciation to the ESB ground staff. Someone asked earlier on about changing godparents. They're not happy with the level of interaction their godparents have in their life. Can you change it? This caller says, changing godparents, what a ridiculous idea and what an insult. But they feel insulted. The godparents aren't actually present in the young person's life. Hi, Greg. I'm very mad with 3 Network. Can you find out when the mast will be fixed, please, in Clonmany, as I'm trying to get in contact with family and can't as the network's down. Can you find out, please, when it's going to be back on? It's very hard, and normally we're really good in being able to get information for you, but we're a bit hamstrung because the companies are telling us they themselves don't know. Can you find out why power has gone off in Stralongford, Drumkeen again? It's the second time since the storm and I can't get an answer from the ESB. It's a joke. My parents are elderly on dialysis and need power for an oxygen monitor. I hope you've told the ESB that. Again, it's very hard to get specific info. That doesn't mean we won't try. Good morning, Greg. I bought €20 sterling. I bought £20 sterling a few years ago in the post office. I was asked questions, as your listener was. As you said, it's all about money laundering. That's what I was told, indeed. And people don't like giving their DOB, or they didn't like, say, for instance, having to give the likes of Revolut your PPI. But the regulations in that regard are pretty tight. Could you please ask if anyone else's power is going off and on? We're wasting a lot of food 3 times on and then off again. What you will see is in certain areas as they reconnect other customers, the power will go off briefly. I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing or if it's going off for longer periods of time. In the debate on sexual matters consent, I don't hear anything about respect, responsibility, STIs or morality mentioned. These were always factors. Well, that is all part of it. Respect is respecting someone's consent. You know, if they say no, respect that. No. Responsibility is understanding the law, that if someone says no and you can continue to do what you're doing is rape. So that's 2 of your points that are very, very important. Respect and responsibility. STIs is something we've covered extensively on this programme the last while because there's been quite a uptick. And morality is down to the individual, really. I mean, I can't preach morality here. That's for Sunday mornings. Hi, Greg. On the subject of getting sterling in the bank, on Monday, they wouldn't take euro cash in exchange for sterling. Wowzers. Morning, Greg. In the Conor McGregor rape case, the judge prevented the public from seeing a tape showing the behaviour of the victim before the rape took place. The young people I talk to think there's something being hidden from them which would cause doubt in the verdict. Thank you. Now, pretend this is, if you, with respect, that this is your mum, your sister, your aunt or your niece. There was a trial, and at that trial, the videotape was shown to the trial. And the jury looked at that in the context of a trial and made their decision, which everyone's entitled to. Now, that woman was deemed by the courts to be a victim. Do we really want a situation where a thug like Conor McGregor, and unfortunately he's got an awful lot of convictions and not a great reputation, he was able to lamp an old man in a pub, if you might remember that. But then to have a precedent whereby videos are released from a trial with no context and putting victims, whether it's this victim or others, through all of that again, that all of a sudden that, oh no, let's publish all these videos and Conor McGregor can put his spin on it. No context, no timeline, no reflection on any other evidence that was given. Would we really want our daughters or sisters to be subjected like that? No. So why should that girl be? So, you know, the judge says, hold on, that was evidence that was shown in the private setting of a court to a jury, and no, you can't publish on the internet. And he threatened to do it. And then a few of the usual suspects on X decided that they also thought that they'd publish it if Conor McGregor sent it to them, and so on and so forth. Do we really want to turn into that type of society? If we do, vote people in that will change it that way if that's what you want. But that's where we have to leave it today. We're back tomorrow morning with the Friday panel. We've got 3 great guests discussing the big topics of the day and week. So stay tuned for that. We also have That's Entertainment and so much more besides. But thank you very much to Caroline Orr, who researched and produced the show today with the assistance of Katie. We're back with you